Schnap.
No intro for you today, folks.
30 seconds into the show, Groubert and Hunley have not yet talked about JFK. I am a freeloader. I've never paid for anything, and I demand that they begin to talk about JFK right now.
Okay, well, before we do that, I do have some breaking news.
Well,
apparently, it's okay by YouTube. We can now officially swear in the first 7 seconds of the show, which was never a problem because our intro is 26 seconds long. But thankfully, people who cannot refrain from swearing for 7 seconds,
right?
They've been saved.
The late George Carlin.
Sure.
Look, was this a problem? The first 7 seconds of a show? I never understood that.
I mean, there were some people, I guess, who were saying, "Welcome to my effing show." But
and how about in the thumbnail? There's a separate rule about cursing in the thumbnail.
I'm just going. YouTube does some crazy things, but the swearing I was sort of okay with. I was like, I get it. An advertiser saying, "Hey, can you refrain for a couple minutes before I'm like, okay.
I never. Once in a while, I'll drop an F-bomb and stuff like that, but it's rare, even for me. It's just not my thing. But apparently, YouTube now thinks that you can now go crazy for 7 seconds at the beginning of a show.
I guess so.
I'll take it, but I mean, I think it may. Here's my take on it. I think it may be the initial opening of a liberalization of YouTube policies, which I've been saying to you is going to happen because of the change in the country and everything else. This may be the first. This may be the first of YouTube beginning to open up as a normal company, afraid of the FCC and afraid of them coming after them.
Well, that would be a perfect answer. It's like, no, you can't talk that political talk, but you could swear.
Yeah, it sounds like something they would do. It sounds like something they would do. Yeah. Boy, that South Park thing shocked me to my core because the 95% of the episode is just, animated, whatever. But they made a phony PSA at the end, Eric, of the president, which looks like a deep fake pornographic thing that has been outlawed in Hollywood and New York. They could scream all they want that it's not, but essentially that's what it is. And I think there's an opening there for the administration. And again, this is after the deal was made with Paramount that they released this. And if they get into the discovery phase, they could get the emails from Comedy Central, which have been apparently announced that they fought this through Parker and his partner to not do this. So the emails are going to show that they also agree that this was libelous and slander of what they did. But I don't even think it's that. I think it's the new laws regarding deep fakes and pornography that can be contested here. Because they're putting his head on another person's body, exposing the genitals and genitalia of that other body, which is made to look exactly like the president.
I think it was all
whatever it is. No, but I'm saying this is now contestable because the courts have not completely weighed in on this.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Interesting case for sure. But we're going to talk about an older case, one that's about 62 years old this year in November. And one of the places we will be talking about, we're going to talk about this early.
Yeah.
Is at the JFK Lancer Conference.
Oh, this is
not
great,
everybody hangs out, for the whole show or whatever. So we wanted to get the word out. We are going to be in Dallas over the weekend of November 22nd. I don't remember the exact dates, but the conference is literally the Friday, Saturday.
You can't say that Dallas doesn't love you, Mr. Hunley.
Dallas loves you, Mark. Dallas definitely loves you.
Go ahead, as you were saying.
Anyway. You can use your phone, point it right at the screen. There is a QR code in the bottom right corner, or you can click a link in the description. All of our videos lately have had the link in the description. And just remember, when you order, use Untold 10 to save 10%. And even if you can't go and you just want to watch, the sessions, there's going to be a virtual copy too. That's an option.
Right.
Well.
And so it's not use Untold 10. It's just Untold 10.
That's correct.
Because we have an audience that's very meticulous about certain areas of communication.
Yeah, they want to be absolutely clear. You are correct.
It's Untold 10, not use Untold 10.
That's correct.
Right. Now, Eric and I are going to be doing a panel with the legendary Robert Groden, the presenter of the original Zapruder film, and we are going to be discussing political assassination in Hollywood cinema, starting in the late 60s after the assassination. I have a crackpot theory that the Zapruder film launched I want to say genre. It's kind of a genre of films.
Yeah. Trend.
Yeah, a trend, a genre. I mean,
sure.
I remember after Animal House came out, there was Porky's, there was other type of films like Animal House. I believe, obviously the Zapruder film is a documentary piece of footage, but the amount of films, and this has always been in the back of my mind as a theory, like a college course, that you could present a film course in a college film school about the fact that there are all these political assassination films after the Kennedy assassination, starting in the mid to late 60s. And there are quite a few of them. Robert and I are going to present probably about 24 different films. This, obviously, we're just going to show the snippet of the assassination and then discuss it as a panel and have a Q&A and we'll put it up on a screen and then show it. And then at the end, we'll show the multiple JFK films of the assassination, Nix, and every single film that Robert has gathered and enhanced clarity-wise. So we'll be showing like the high HD version of all of these different films in person. So you won't have to look at it on a computer screen. You'll be able to see it live on a screen in front of your face. And that'll be at the end. Or at the beginning. We're not really sure. But Groden is also a film expert. I didn't know that, but he was a consultant on a lot of these films as a consultant. Executive Action, he was a consultant on. JFK, he was a consultant on. And there's 2 or 3 or 4 others that I didn't realize that he was a consultant on these films. And he will talk about his experience consulting with Hollywood on political assassination films, which is the whole idea. It's never been done before. Eric and I can't do it here because of copyright problems. So a couple of years ago, I wanted to do it there and we couldn't make it down. So we're going to try to do it this November. Somebody emailed me this week. They bought a VIP ticket from Australia, Eric. Remember we were talking about foreigners coming. And this guy's leaving on a paddle boat now to get here. So
as a matter of fact, what I suggest, because he consulted ahead of time saying, hey, this is a long travel and everything. And I suggest anybody, if you're coming a long way, don't only do the conference, pad it by a couple days.
Yeah.
There are touring companies and things like that in Dallas. I don't know all of them. Where
Go to Ruth Payne's house.
You can pay and travel around, and they'll take you to the different locations as well. Right. Yeah. So you can really add to the experience. You can visit Jack Ruby's club, the Carousel Club.
The Campisi Brothers Egyptian Lounge.
There you go.
Which I recommend the eggplant parmesan, by the way, at Jack Ruby's place. You could sit in Jack Ruby's booth, by the way, if nobody's there. I highly recommend the eggplant parmesan as a restaurant. But yeah, Eric's right. There are touring companies that'll take you to Ruth Payne's house, and you could go inside there. It's preserved now. It's a state or federal state. It's some kind of preserved house. It's got a plaque on the outside, which I visited cool. when I went to Dallas. There's an episode on our platform of me going.
Yeah, with some of the pictures of you down there and stuff. And there's Ruth Payne House. There's also like where the picture of Oswald with the rifle was taken.
Yeah.
They go right there. I think anyway, there's different things. I don't know all of them, but there are tours down there. And and you maybe even talk to the conference people because they're locals and they'll say, oh yeah, hook up with blah, blah, blah. And see what you can do. They might have discounts, things like that. So just wanted to suggest it. If you're going to travel, especially a long ways from Australia, England, wherever, hey, make a trip of it, pad it out a little bit, and you can get even more.
Yeah, there's a lot of great presenters other than Eric and I and Groden. So there's going to be more than just us. For us, it's going to be like another meetup because so many people are going to come just to do what we're doing. But there's a lot of swag. There's books there. There's a whole room of swag and different things, documents, newspapers. You can buy a separate room. And there's a giant buffet. I think it's like a buffet dinner where we all eat together. And you can actually sit at a table and talk to all these different people and table hop, although table hopping is discouraged.
Definitely. But on to today's topics. We were going to start out with Larry early in the show, but he can't make it until later in the show. So we're going to start out with a Q&A until Larry gets here, and he may be able to answer some of the questions we don't know later. But essentially, to help make my life tolerable, if not easy, please put on it a big Q or the word question followed by the question, because people are talking to each other in the chat. I'm trying to look at 3 different chats, and it just helps me a ton if I can at least see, oh, this is a pointed question for JFK. So,
well, let me ask you a question. A good point. Very good point, Eric. I just want to ask you a question. What, maybe Larry knows the answer to this. Where or what happened to the Luna Commission?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I wasn't really hopped up about it.
I would recommend consulting Jefferson Morley.
Yeah, who keeps throwing about it. Maybe Larry knows, because I think she's moved on to bigger fish, as we kind of predicted. I mean, I'm kind of answering my own question. I wasn't expecting much, but.
I think there could be another, because we didn't expect a second one, and she did have a second one.
Yeah. Well, she did when she left off. She said she was going to deal with the former KGB and get the Oswald files out of Moscow, which, if you read Norman Mailer's book, Oswald's Tale, I think it was, he goes over there trying to get these files after the fall of the Soviet Empire to no avail. So this is a touchy area for the Russians, especially because they've got their hands full with other issues right now. So I don't know if they're hot to trot to help Luna get those files. They may be busy doing things right now. But there is a lot of files there. Literally truckloads of files that the Soviets had on Oswald, probably to avoid their own being accused of complicity. When the assassination first happened, they immediately internally fingered a guy that they said was the number one suspect, and that was LBJ. And that's in the reports, in the KGB reports, that they believed the number one suspect, that it was a coup d'etat. And apparently to them, it was obvious, and to other nations' intelligence organizations, it was obvious, but not to the American intel, because they were involved themselves. Now, that being said, most of the people I know from Texas of a certain age have told me many times over the years that the number one suspect in their minds when it happened was LBJ. And nobody knew them better than Texans. And if there are any Texas people out in the audience tonight, you can comment or question down below, because I've talked to a lot of Texans who are our age, and many of them suspected LBJ from the get-go out of Texas.
All right. And I'm also going to go through like super chats and things like that are mixed into try to make sure we stay on top of things.
Yeah, by the way, these are just my opinions. It's not like baseball where the guy's batting average, and the passing of Ryan Sandberg, the great Chicago Cubs second baseman. I just want to acknowledge that one of the greatest years, 1984 for the Cubs, for our Chicago fans out there. Passed away from cancer yesterday at the age of 65. Played the game the right way. Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time. But what I'm saying is these JFK questions are not like sports questions. They don't have, who led the National League in hitting in 1994. These are opinions of myself and Eric.
But mostly Mark. Most of my opinions are learned by Mark. Well, because I haven't, I look, I'm like, okay. but I don't have nearly
look what you
knowledge.
knew before you met me. You were just a regular person. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, look how much you as an individual have learned in 4 years. I mean, it's enormous.
Absolutely. But
I mean, it took me 30
careful.
years. It took me 30 or 40 years to acquire these takes on this stuff. And it, in a lot of ways, it is a jigsaw puzzle, because something new will come out and you fit it in your brain, in the back of your mind. You file, at least I do, in the back of your mind, you file it away into this jigsaw puzzle that you've been trying to assemble. Other people have other jigsaw puzzles they're trying to assemble. Morley, wants to assemble this George Joannides jigsaw puzzle. He's hooked on that, and other people are hooked on other things. That's their area of expertise. A lot of the people in the JFK research community specialize in one particular thing. Like Vince Palomaro focuses only on the Secret Service, simply because it's almost too big of a elephant to eat. So people over the years have focused on one thing. I am not one of those people, by the way. I am trying to put a giant mosaic together from all of those experts who came before me and are experts in their particular area.
Yeah, I mean, it's good in that regard too, but I want to clarify like what I think or know. And it's an easy trap, because I hear from a lot of people who have read one book.
Yeah.
And therefore Mark is this and that. I'll hear something or I'll think something, but I'm hesitant to put my thoughts forward because I haven't read 5 other books that, my jigsaw puzzle I picked up at Goodwill and half the pieces are missing.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's a good analogy. I mean, I've probably owned, I want to say, over 300 JFK books, and I think I've read almost all of them, not page to page, but even the bad ones that are crazy ones, I even buy those just to see if anything is in there that makes any sense. In other words, like I have the Judith Vary Baker collection, just to see how she assembled, or how the intelligence people assembled her story and timeline. And it's not easy work what they're doing. Like I said on a couple of shows ago, they will take the timeline of the assassination or the timeline of Oswald and find gaps in it and insert their story into those gaps. It's quite genius how they do it. And I'm sure there's people like Robert Redford in 3 Days of the Condor who just reads books. That character is one who's working on these storylines to try to assemble a person going into the narrative that's already existed for 60 years. A lot of these people have come out in the late 90s, early 2000s, out of the blue with completely intact storylines. And people have read their books, and they're well written, well produced by intelligence people. They're not sloppy. Like we said with George Orwell's Animal Farm, it was the most expensive animated film at the time. And they do not make shoddy product, the intelligence services. They really get the best. And they do this with their counter JFK narrative, which is what I was getting at. How they counter this is to bring out new characters every once in a while, to bring out new revelations from Secret Service agents who are 89 years old and want to leave money to their grandchildren who are willing to alter their storyline for a book deal. They find the Achilles heel in human beings and they exploit it, Eric.
I have an additional theory. So it's a yes and. I think that also the deep state is very happy with all the grifters out there who come out on their own. And, I don't think James Files is a deep state guy. I think James Files
he's been handled. Individual. At the beginning, he was handled. I don't know what the status is now, but he was handled at the beginning. But I get your point. You're saying,
yeah, it's great. I mean, it's like anybody. Come up with your crackpot theory. The more, the merrier. The CIA doesn't have to recruit them. If they have somebody out there. So,
without a doubt. I mean,
talk away.
You've got a publishing company called Trine Day up in Oregon. And his father just happened to be the station chief, one of the biggest CIA station chiefs in the history of the CIA. But we're supposed to ignore that and try to suppress our mind that these are books that are coming out that are untouched and completely filled with veracity. They have been in the publishing business since the beginning of their existence, the intelligence services, especially publishing. They've kind of gone away from documentaries recently. Alex Gibney was a big spook documentary maker. Not so much anymore. They're trying to move away from that. But books is still their cup of tea. They love books. And they have whole entire publishing companies making books. I mean, the piece that we did on Mark Lane, how they undermine his publishing in England, releasing it to the intelligence services even before it came out.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I'm just thinking all the independent people too. I mean,
yeah, you know, you're not wrong. I mean,
people are sending us names, and we're like, who?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, even recently, like even recently.
Yeah. And I'm not going to name
highly
names,
produced videos on YouTube, and we're going, who is this? Where does this guy come from? He's like 60, 70 years old, and all of a sudden he's come out of the blue.
And then people are saying, you're the most accurate things we've seen since this person that Mark's never heard of, and Mark's been in the community for 30 years.
Look, if I haven't heard of you, there's a reason. I mean, look, these people who are experts, and I'm talking about, Jim DiEugenio and Vince Palomar and Grodin and Stone and others. These guys are experts for a reason. I mean, I have just learned from them, and what I try to do is do a smorgasbord of information and take from a little bit from each of them so I could put together the whole picture. I don't know everything about the Secret Service that Vince does, but everything I know, I learned from Vince. You know what I mean? I've taken from them to try to put a visual description of the assassination out there to people, because a lot of those people who do it are nerds. And loving, brilliant nerds. Max Payne's documentary on Ruth Payne, Max Good's documentary on Ruth Payne is brilliant, but he's not the greatest orator or actor or presenter in the world. He's got other skills.
And by the way, nerd.
I mean that in a good way.
No. It's not a compliment. The way I define nerd is somebody who is obsessively interested in a hobby or a particular thing. So you could be a baseball nerd, know every stat out there, football nerd, anything that you obsess with. They're car nerds. Jay Leno would probably be the biggest car nerd ever on the planet.
Right.
Etc.
One of the reasons that Dallas is so important this year is because of everything that's happened this year. I'm talking, including Luna. Including these people testifying, Oliver Stone and Jim DiEugenio and Jeff Morley and everything. There was nobody during Biden. When Larry comes on, he's going to talk about how they tried to deal with the Biden administration. I'm hearing a lot of complimentary things from the JFK research community about the Trump administration regarding this particular issue, which I never thought I'd hear in my life. But they've had to give it up, complimentary wise, about the amount of transparency so far on this one issue that he guaranteed and has delivered. I mean, there's nothing left in the bottom of that barrel, but maybe Larry knows there's more stuff down there. I'm not really sure.
All right. Well, let's go into here. I've got a new member with Pa from EP. Thank you. And Dr. Evil 814. Skynet, indeed, Eric.
What's Skynet?
Oh, you haven't seen that yet? I even have the T-shirt of, it's the Google colors, how Google's colored with Skynet. So Skynet is the company in Terminator 2 where the androids got sent back to kill us all. Well,
right.
The theory's been that Google is Skynet.
That's
the company, in 20 years, 30 or whatever.
That's funny.
They're coming back to get us.
I got you. That's cool.
All right, Helena with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Helena.
I pronounce it Olejnik. That's how I pronounce her name always. Olejnik.
Olejnik.
Helena Olejnik.
All right, there we go. What Mark said. And Philip Carruthers is a new member. Thank you. We've got Sharon Drury and question here. Who was Roger Craig, JFK's murder witness?
Dallas cop who claimed that he saw Oswald getting into a car after the assassination and being driven away in a type of like station wagon is the best I could say, a blue station wagon or a color of some sort. And he had been policeman of the year. He was kind of an idealistic cop in that regard. We didn't really fit in with the Dallas police because they were so corrupt, and he was considered a goody two shoes. I think he would have had a rough time anyway as a goody two shoes cop, but he was cop of the year, rookie of the year, whatever that was, and he made claims. When Oswald was being interrogated, that he pointed him out in the interrogation room. When he came in there, there's a photo of him and Oswald in the same room, Roger Craig. He was then shot at, and they attempted to kill him over the years. Eventually, I think they might have been successful. I've always been on both sides of the fence on Roger Craig. I don't know what to believe regarding him. And I'm just being honest. I don't know if he believes what he saw or he's just alone in seeing what he saw. I mean, the idea that a station wagon pulled up with Oswald, that Oswald got into, Roger is the only one saying that for the most part, in front of the Texas School Book Depository. Ruth Payne was not driving the car. He claims a swarthy man, if I remember correctly, was driving the car. Although there is quite a bit of documentary evidence of Oswald taking the bus, Oswald taking the cab, and Oswald going home by other means of transport, which goes directly against Roger Craig's testimony. I don't know if that helps, Sharon, but...
Well, it appears that in 1975, it was determined that he died as a result of self-inflicted gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
they definitely were out to get him. I mean, but then again, keep in mind from their point of view, and I'm not supporting them. You have a guy who just won't shut the fuck up about the assassination. I mean, he's really asking for it in a lot of ways. But he may have been mistaken in what he saw, or he may have been wrong and killed. It could be both, Eric. In other words, they said they told him so many different ways to shut the F up, and he wouldn't do it. And they attempted to kill. They tried to blow up his car at one point, and it doesn't make what he said true, is what I mean. It doesn't make what his observations were to be true.
All right, from locals, question from Flip 1963. Would it be a fair statement that more documents were destroyed than actually still exist?
We have no idea what was destroyed. I mean, it's a never knowing number, because you don't know.
How do you prove a negative?
How do you prove a negative? I don't know what was destroyed. I mean, we don't know if anything was destroyed. I mean, I assume they were, but we have no way to prove what they destroyed. I mean, if you want to go down that road,
lucky.
No,
unless
I'm saying
like
if you want to go down that road, I've said this before. The Office of Naval Intelligence showed up at the House Assassination Committee hearings and literally told them to go fuck themselves, that they had destroyed all their documents on Oswald the night before. They literally said it. And there were no documents that came out of O&I. That's not the case with CIA. It's not the case with the FBI. And that's why I lean so heavily about the destruction thing, simply because of O&I's admission that they, against congressional requests, they admitted and bragged that they had destroyed them all.
Didn't the Secret Service also destroy them?
Secret Service also said they destroyed them all. Yeah, but not the other intelligence agencies.
So yeah, and that's the problems. We'll never get the entire story.
That's why it's hard to know. I mean, CIA could have destroyed everything and just said, like, O&I, go fuck yourselves. They didn't do that, though. They did not do that.
Yeah, I did. Well, and I guess technically we could get lucky, like we did with MK Ultra, where they burned all the documents, but they didn't realize there was another copy of all the.
Well, that's charges. Essentially what is going on. That model that you're discussing now about MK Ultra is essentially what we've been going through, because it's so disseminated in the CIA. There's so many different branches. That's why these documents continue to come out. That's why Morley is able to go through not the work file, but the personnel file of George Joannides, which was about his pay raises, his medical, blah, blah, blah. Kind of meaningless to me. But there is information in there about Joanides that was not revealed initially. Does it lead to a smoking gun? Obviously not. However, Joanides did run the DRE, which was the student directorate, the Cuban student directorate group that was funded by the CIA. And Joanides was the CIA man running it in South Miami, a place where Oswald never was, but morally claims that they had influence in New Orleans too, which is true with Carlos Bringuier and some of the other people, leading to the debate by Oswald on TV and on radio, the Butler setup debate on WDSU that you can now hear a recording of. I think we may even have it on Locals on our stuff that we have up there.
It's on our YouTube too, I think.
Yeah, we have it on YouTube on our platform too.
I put it on Locals first, and and it was on Locals for a while because Locals gets it first. And sometimes it gets out to YouTube, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Another reason to check out Locals.
Right. So what morally is declaring a victory for him, which is true, that the revelations by the CIA about Joanides, which they didn't want to reveal, running the DRE, shows one step between the CIA and Oswald. And that's what I need to really point out, because the headlines by different media is Oswald connected to CIA through Joanides revelations. What it really is there's a gap between them, and that's the DRE itself, which people are now conflating as to the CIA and Oswald connection. There is a buffer, and that's this huge organization called the Cuban Student Directorate, DRE, Revolutionary Group, which had chapters in every major city in the country, and were fighting against the Fair Play for Cuba committee groups that were also in every city in the country. Oswald had reached out to New York to open a chapter in New Orleans. He was the only member because he was the guy who was starting it. People have mocked Oswald for being the only member. He was trying to get permission from the head chapter in New York to open it, and they told him to delay it because of so much anti-Castro activity in New Orleans at the time. So they told him to wait, and he didn't wait, and he was on his own mission, in my humble opinion, starting a Fair Play for Cuba committee, obviously being handled by intelligence sources, which I think are O&I, and I've always thought that. And I believe a lot of the confusion comes from multiple intelligence agencies crashing into each other. I believe Oswald was always O&I. CIA had a file on him, but I don't think he worked for CIA. I think he worked for O&I. And I think that's why O&I destroyed the files. He was a Marine. That's their area. O&I's base was in Nags Head, North Carolina. That's where he makes the phone call from jail to his handler, former intel officer outside of Raleigh. That was O&I territory, Eric. And I believe that's why O&I destroyed all their documents.
All right. I'm speaking of confusion. Apparently, the J is silent.
I was just guessing, Helena.
We don't know. I don't even know. Is it Elena?
Yeah, I was just guessing, Helena. Thank you, though. She's been around since day one with us. She's been here since
She's been a while.
Yeah.
Great. Question. Will you be doing a review on what happened to JFK's body at the autopsy, especially regarding the 3 casket arrivals? Doug Horn's work on this is fascinating.
Well, I mean, it's really Best Evidence, the original book on it, and we have discussed it on various episodes, I think. I don't believe there were 3 casket arrivals, and I've said before that I believe they went to Bethesda because it was a naval hospital with plenty of bodies and plenty of brains, and anything they were wheeling around was the brains obviously came from Bethesda Naval Hospital. Those brains. The brain that was photographed and used in the autopsy, the experts have said that brain was in a saline or alcohol solution for weeks and months, and it was so fresh it was ridiculous. So that's been thoroughly discredited. The brain part, the body part is not really needed because the body that they have is good enough to do what they have to do. Everything about the autopsy is about the head. So I never understood why you needed to. Again, this is coming out of Best Evidence when that book came out, and then Doug Horn and some others. I don't know where it goes. Like, okay, bro, where does that lead you? You now have Tippett in another. You have Tippett in another coffin on Air Force Two. There's no bodies that you can use at Bethesda. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense why you would need extra bodies. The reason they went to Bethesda was because it was a naval hospital with corpses that they could use and brains that they could use. They didn't switch his body. That's JFK's body. But they did use the brain of a fresh cadaver, or these brains that they had on ice or in saline solution, to photograph and set up the gunshot wounds to the head and brain. And they cosmetically altered the photographs of the head, but they didn't take someone else's head to do that. I mean, the AI wasn't invented yet. So as for 3 caskets and 3 bodies, it doesn't make any sense for the storyline. You know, I mean, I don't understand why you even need it for this cockamamie story.
True. Let me see. Mike Schaefer saying Mark.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say no on this already. When reading gifted memberships and super chats, bring back the bell.
Mike,
no, that would go off too much.
Talk to me tomorrow, Mike. Talk to me tomorrow. We'll work something out, Schaefer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. He's got another show, but yeah, on this probably would make us a little crazy. Steve from London, question. Why didn't Lee Harvey Oswald call out, "I'm just a patsy, I am a CIA agent," etc., to get the truth out? Well, he did call out, "I am just a patsy."
Right, we did say that. But I mean, the real reason to your question is Monday morning was going to be a multi-hour free-form press conference with him, provided by the Dallas police and announced to the World Press Corps on Sunday, saying we were going to have a unending, unlimited time on Monday morning, the next day, with him. So he could have answered anything in a unending press conference for hours. And that's why Ruby had to do what he finally did on Sunday, because Ruby tried on Friday. Ruby showed up on Saturday. He was getting scared to death. In fact, Saturday night, he calls up the Dallas police, and which he did Friday also. But he called up Dallas on Saturday saying someone's going to kill Oswald. And the guy said, "Is this Jack Ruby?" And he hung up quickly. It was some kid at the desk who knew him, and he knew his voice. And so Ruby was boxed in and had to do what they paid him the money to do finally on Sunday, because Monday was D-Day. Now, keep in mind, he's addicted to Dexedrine. He's taking dozens of spansules of Dexedrine. He's high as a kite. He's a maniac by admission. But at that point, he had already taken the $50,000 from the Campisi brothers, put it in a safe. The safe bolted to the office floor in his nightclub. And the $50,000, Eric and I have calculated, it would be roughly close to $350,000 today for the hit. And he signed over power of attorney to his lawyer, told him to take care of his debts before he went and took care of Oswald. He said to take care of my taxes. He had borrowed money from his brother and his sister. He wanted that repaid. He was taking care of his business before he went over there on Sunday to do what he did on Sunday morning. When they were moving him, to the next jail. But he was getting cold feet. He did not want to do this, Ruby, but he took the money. This
is a good question from Rumble. Question: when/what made you think the JFK assassination was being covered up and/or a conspiracy? I don't even know this. When did you determine? Oh, you know what? This is something
I think it was everybody's parents who were just sitting there after Oswald had been killed on TV. Everybody in the country went, "This is a bridge too far." Wow. And it wasn't me. My parents. It was everybody. And I say everybody. It was just everybody said, "How could this gangster get in there?" We're going to talk about Jack Ruby again, and kill the most famous or infamous man in America so easily. The conspiracy starts on Sunday morning with Charles Kuralt on CBS. No, it starts on Sunday morning with the easy killing of Oswald by Jack Ruby. And the American people, every single person who saw that said that is impossible. And that really is the beginning of the conspiracy theory right there.
Okay, so you were looking at it as a kid even.
Oh, yeah, I saw it live. I saw it live on TV with my parents. Absolutely.
I mean, you started researching it even then, or reading books on it, or whatever.
I was at that point. I was only 8.
So
and to add to it, there were no books.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was 8 years old, so it didn't happen. But I was in the schoolyard at PS 194 when we were playing punch ball, and a guy came over, had a transistor radio, and told us what had happened, and then we all had to go home from school. We were already outside having recess playing punch, and then the guy with the radio said to the teacher what had happened, and then we were all sent home.
Okay. All right. Tom Woolley. We know Tom. Texas Tom.
Oh, Texas Tom.
See you in Dallas for the JFK Lancer. I have my ticket, and I'm working on my brother to attend.
You know, you get that chiropractor to the stars to get his fat ass down there, Tom, because that guy is your sidekick. I know he's your brother, but it's a duo. You need both of you to make this thing work. Thanks, Tom.
Well, also the judge reached out to me.
Oh, the judge. Well, I haven't seen the judge since Youngstown or something.
Yeah, we haven't seen her for a while, so she may be coming. She's also from Texas, so that'll
federal judge, by the way, who knows a lot about where the bodies are buried. Texas federal judge, by the way.
No, a federal judge from Texas. Yeah,
right. I'm saying I think she's retired. But.
I think so. Yes. She was a district judge, I believe. Jerry D. What does Mark think of Ed Hoffman's statement of what he saw on the railroad tracks? I guess he was deaf.
Yeah, everybody. It's just a joke. Hoffman's completely truthful. They try to intimidate Hoffman. He went over there with his son or daughter who spoke out loud. Hoffman was threatened by Dallas police. Totally valid witness. I have no problem with Ed Hoffman's statement. He's really heroic. Being a deaf mute, he was also a mute and deaf. So it's difficult for him to go over and explain the nuances of what he saw with sign language. But either his daughter or his son, I forget which it was, went with him to the Dallas police, and he signed what he saw, and she or he translated what the signing was. But Hoffman, totally righteous witness.
All right. In Xanadu 25, one question: given there were likely 2 people on the 6th floor, how did they manage
hold
to
on. That's
escape?
one of these questions with a supposition in front. But go on. We talked about these types of questions. If Oswald had 5 guns, why did they only find 1 gun on him, Eric? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Read the whole thing. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Given that there were likely 2 people on the 6th floor, how did they manage to escape? An employee had eaten his chicken lunch minutes before. So how and where?
Again, we don't believe that the shots came from that window because of Bonnie Ray Williams eating his chicken lunch. They literally had to assemble the sniper's nest. It took them 2 hours, the Dallas police, after the assassination had occurred. I believe the shots came from the rooftop where they found a British Enfield up there on the rooftop. And I believe that was a weapon that was used to shoot Connelly. I also believe there was a shooting perch on the 2nd floor of the Dow Tex building, and then the roof of the criminal courts building where Sheriff Weatherford was up there with a sniper rifle himself. Weatherford, highly suspect. Dow Tex building, of course, Jim Braden is arrested, coming downstairs in the elevator immediately following the shooting. But that window on the 6th floor, sorry, and that dog won't hunt. And neither did that window. The other windows are never shown to be open. I believe there was a shooter on the rooftop of the Texas School Book Depository. All
right. Hey, Helena gifted 10 America's Untold Stories membership. So she's really being super generous today.
So the J is silent. You just say Olenek. Like Ole, like Ole, Nick. Well, forget the J. Olenek.
I hope that's how you say it.
Olenek.
Olenek.
She's hearing it at home going, "Oh, you boys, I can't take it anymore. I can't listen to the butchering of my name."
Yeah, I don't blame her. don't blame her. Flea speech question. What made you? Oh, I already did that from Rumble. Flea speech is being sneaky and coming in on Rumble and here. Anyway, all right. Question. Mark, my grandmother grew up in Texas. She said in the 80s that her father's friend Charles was roughed up by LBJ's men because he refused to pay off LBJ. Have you heard anything similar?
Oh, hundreds of stories like this. Not similar. I mean, this is he was the model for he was the original crime family. I mean, he had obviously Mac Wallace working for him and others. He was running a huge statewide crime operation, including roughing up and killing people who didn't cooperate as the last resort. It's not me talking about it. Robert Caro talks about it in numerous multi-volume biography of LBJ. It's just
That's what's so weird about it is why people can't get behind
I know
that he could have done it, but everybody agrees that he.
Well, not everybody, right? Not everybody agrees. I mean, Caro goes into great detail about the about the LBJ crime stuff in Texas. It had a propensity of violence to it. People were killed who didn't cooperate with the crime ring. And yet they draw the line because he did the Voting Rights Act.
But that's what I'm saying. Nobody's challenging Caro. I have never seen anything saying that Robert Caro was full of it or his research was bad or anything. Everybody seems to accept it. You want to learn about LBJ? Read Caro's books.
As far as Caro goes, Caro won't go as far as the assassination. But he clearly paints a picture of a criminal boss of a gang shaking people down, running scams, stealing money, doing all kinds of different things in the state of Texas, including violence. Mac Wallace, who's found guilty of murdering a golf pro, who's having an affair with LBJ's sister, gets convicted by a jury, and LBJ's lawyer gets him off, and he becomes part of the crime family. I mean, so it involves murderers. I mean, then there's people who were murdered. Obviously Billy Saul Estes believes that I think 16 people were murdered, or 14 were murdered, according to Billy Saul Estes in his grand jury testimony. But nevertheless, nobody will even cross the bridge into acknowledging the violence surrounding LBJ with his crimes. Even if you take away the assassination and go, that's a bridge too far, they won't even acknowledge all of the things that have basically been proven in courts of law regarding LBJ's henchmen with these different crimes: physical, embezzlement, bribery, shakedowns. Those are real. Those are real. And these people didn't operate on their own in a vacuum. They reported up the ladder to him. And people go, well, he didn't do it himself. No shit, Sherlock. No shit. He had dozens of loyal people working for him.
Yeah, the Mac Wallace is kind of hard to get away.
It's hard to get around the Billy Saul Estes and Mac Wallace stories.
Jeez. All right, Al Gonzalez. Would like to see Dallas PD Captain Westbrook's tax returns. To me, he's a linchpin. Cops working for CIA in 1963 is an old story and is still going on today.
Well, to be fair, Westbrook leaves and goes to Vietnam and gets involved with the CIA in Operation Phoenix. But he was an equivalent of, like I said, these framers who were on the Dallas Police Department. Westbrook did non-political framing as well, as did other people working, including Henry Wade, the DA, who had every single conviction overturned by the state Supreme Court of Texas at one point. The DA who was undefeated in the death penalty had every case overturned that he was victorious in. So, yeah, I would like to see anything on Westbrook. I mean, obviously, Westbrook is the one who finds the phony Oswald jacket, finds the phony Oswald wallet. Westbrook is a framer. He's one of the framers. And he's so quick on the scene that it's indicative, Al, of just how quickly they were moving. Finding the jacket, finding the wallet, linking it to Oswald so quickly, and Westbrook being the captain in charge of that operation. There were some lower sergeants, but I presume Westbrook was what would be the equivalent of what Al was involved in as an intelligence unit, for Dallas. LAPD had their own with their own guys who were trained. Manny Pena, who was trained at the farm by the CIA, Captain Manny Pena, and Sergeant Hernandez, who was also trained by the CIA as part of their intel unit. And as Alice pointed out, every major city in the country had cops within their police forces who were linked or intel to the Central Intelligence Agency. I don't even think that may be a bad thing, except for their domestic laws about operating domestically. In the case of Sergeant Hernandez, the CIA would take him abroad to South America and Central America to use his lie detector on in dictatorships and political areas of political turmoil in South and Central America. So he may not have been operating for the CIA on American soil.
All right. Let's see. Theodore Sandberg is a new member. Thank you, Theodore. We've got here Rustus Android. Isn't there a picture of cops bringing a different gun down from the roof of the book depository? I swear I've seen it in the past. Yes.
Yeah, no, you've had. Robert Groden has it. Groden has it in his collection. It was scrubbed from the internet. You're absolutely correct. You're not being gaslit. They do come down the fire escape with the weapon I just described, the British Enfield found on the roof. They then arrest Buell Wesley Frazier, who also suspiciously has his own British Enfield, which they seize, and all of his ammo, and he is arrested for the assassination of the president. He's given 2 lie detector tests. He's threatened with the electric chair. The case of him and the curtain rods all of a sudden comes out of nowhere. And it's proven later on by Buell Wesley Frazier that he worked in the shipping department of a department store when he was a kid 2 or 3 years earlier in high school, shipping out curtain rods, which I thought was the best part of his memoir. I don't think he even realized what he was saying in his own memoir, Eric. You know what I mean? About him being in the shipping department dealing with curtain rods, because that gets him off the hook with Dallas police. So I think the two of them, the 2 groups concocted this story, and it was backed up by Frazier's sister, who claimed that Oswald had this long package under his arm, although Frazier's mother denies it.
Okay. And by the way, if you want to see it, I believe I did show it in the second appearance with Robert Groden on the channel.
Oh, cool. Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
You can always you should be able to see it.
That's why I believe that the shooting perch, and also the shot from that shooting perch, is the one that I think went through the upper thorax of Governor Connelly, through his back from right to left, going into his right shoulder, coming out of his left chest, hitting his right wrist, and then into his left thigh, where Dr. Shaw, in a video testimony you can find on YouTube, talks about the bullet still being in Connelly's left thigh. How it would end up in his left thigh from any other perch described by the Warren Commission is, of course, absurd. The only angle is straight down from the rooftop from right to left. If you visualize the building, Texas School Book Depository, on his right, the shot literally goes almost straight down for Connelly, which nobody ever talks about except me. And I kind of got obsessed with it, because if the magic bullet is a farce, which it is, nobody took it the next step further. How does Connelly get shot? It's not. It's just sheer logic. If the magic bullet is made up by Arlen Specter, the trajectory and all the craziness regarding the magic bullet, okay, fine, we all agree on that.
How does really was shot?
And right, but he really was shot, and it really went through his upper right back, out of his left chest, into his right wrist, which was sitting on his lap with the Stetson, and then into his left thigh. So it comes across the back of his body from right to left. And the only place on the earth it could have come from was the roof of the School Book Depository, and they found a rifle up there. Maybe I'm crazy.
All right, Shane Culkin wants to know, question: where were Mac Wallace's fingerprints lifted from, the 6th floor or the roof rifle?
6th floor. various boxes on the 6th floor. But that being said, the sniper's nest itself does not exist. That is assembled by Dallas police in the 2 hours following the assassination. The so-called sniper's nest is really a box with another box next to it, which becomes the kitchen table for Bonnie Ray Williams with his Dr. Pepper and his so-called chicken sandwich, which takes up multi-pages in the Warren Commission report, because the Warren Commission is obsessed with the fact that a black guy is eating a chicken sandwich with a bone in it, smoking Newports. That whole setup is from Bonnie Ray Williams, who eventually joins his friends down below on the 5th, who are looking out the window up at him, telling him to come join them, which he does as late as, I want to say 12:25. The Warren Commission just continues to browbeat Bonnie Ray Williams into saying he left earlier. And he just is very reluctant to say that he left earlier, but that's what they are trying to get out of him, that he went downstairs at 12:10, 12:15. But in reality, he went downstairs moments before the shooting.
All right. Mike Schaefer's very into bells.
What's with the bells, Schaefer?
Do you know if any other researchers rang a bell once they knew LHO was not a lone shooter?
No. In fact, I don't know anyone who's ever used bells for anything like this, which is why you and I should bring back the bells, Mike, because I think it would separate us from other YouTube channels.
Well, the idea of the bell, for those who are confused, is essentially, we tried different things. You'll notice that our growth went from 0 to 100,000 in under 2 years.
Right.
And then it has creeped up to another 20-something thousand 2 more years later.
Right. That looks legit. The bell, that logarithm looks legit.
The bell was so when I popped this up, a bell would go off and people would go, oh, it's the bell. It's time to hit that notification bell. Hit that subscribe.
That didn't work. That didn't work. YouTube had another idea. YouTube put us in a tiny little room, according to Tim Pool. By the way, did you see Tim Pool's head?
Oh, I've seen it before.
Oh, I've never seen it in my life. I was shocked.
I mean, yeah, there's a picture of it out there. Just like Elon Musk, there's a picture of him balding out there.
I've never seen Tim Pool without his hat, so that's why I was kind of.
I know people are going crazy.
But Tim Pool, to his credit, explained it to us when we were visiting it. We did a show. He said conservative political shows, which I don't even think we are, get put into a tiny room, his words, by YouTube, which is impenetrable subscription-wise.
What it is the tiny room censoring is all of our subscribers. So the ones we already have, the 100,000, well, they get shown our stuff, and we have a loyal audience. So we have pretty consistent numbers, week after week after week, but it's not getting out to the rest of YouTube. Yeah. And he has gone through it himself. Now, I will say that Tim Pool's tiny room is like the size of a ballroom at a hotel. Our tiny room is the size of a closet. But I would like our tiny room to be the size of his tiny room, but the principle still lies.
It could be as simple as getting all those Encyclopedia Britannica warnings on the JFK assassination and racking up. It might be some rule that they have. If you get 100 of these, we're going to cock block you. We don't know the metrics that they're using to block us, but clearly we've been at 128,000 subs for like a year. It's mathematically impossible.
But we're still here. And we do thank all of you who are subbed and checking it out. And by the way, if you haven't hit it, go for it.
Yeah, see what happens. They'll come to your house and go, all right, we know you're subscribed. Come on out and nobody will get hurt. Oh, let me go. Let me go. I mean, who knows what'll happen if you subscribe? So,
to quote Trevor Colt, another YouTuber, subscribe. Why not? It's free.
Yeah.
Tim Hacker, question: isn't there a 4-hour version of Through the Looking Glass? I have only found the 2-hour version. Yes, it's another name. Destiny Betrayed.
Yeah, Destiny Betrayed. Yeah, you could buy it from Shout. It's also available on various platforms. The 2-hour version was for Showtime. That was a contractual cut. The 4-hour is for Amazon, which is 4 episodes, which you have to buy individually, or you could buy the DVDs from Shout and have your own DVD collection, which I recommend because it's got extras on there.
Right, and you can actually buy all 4 episodes as like a block on Amazon. I think you can on Apple too. I think it's pretty much everywhere now that you can.
Right, but sticking with my DVD collection theory, I'd strongly recommend that you physically get your hands on the Shout 4 DVD collection because it does have extras on it, and you physically control it.
And if you don't want it to change in the future,
we don't know what
which has happened already. One of the most ironic cases of digital mediums is in, I think it's 2010, Amazon of all books removed 1984 from all.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
of course. Well, not only that, I mean, it goes back to the History Channel with episode 9. Of the men who killed Kennedy. Now, I know it's available now, and people are going, Mark, you're an idiot. It's available. You have no idea how difficult that was to get. It was a British production, and for years, that number 9 was not available. It was only because of people in Europe who made it available on YouTube repeatedly that 9 is now allowed to be seen in the United States. I mean, they literally came out and said 9 is done. This is the one that blames LBJ for the assassination.
Be thankful for pirates.
Yeah, no, it's a good answer. Be thankful for pirates because number 9 is now out there, but it took a long time. I mean, I had 9 early on because I got it from Europe, from the original BBC, not BBC, but the producer who made the 9 spots. But it wasn't available. And they had a special History Channel. The presenter came out and said, we will not be showing this again. And there's special broadcast and everything else because of how it struck the third rail of the Kennedy assassination. They were inundated by the LBJ cronies. And that includes the late Bill Moyers, who recently passed away from PBS.
Yeah.
And Jack Valente, and Bill, and
sure.
Doris Kearns Goodwin and her husband, Dick Goodwin, totally pressured the History Channel into buckling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. Let me see. GG Evan 317. Would the CIA set up Oswald as a patsy to win a turf war against O&I? And would that be a reason as to why O&I destroyed their files on Oswald?
Look, I wouldn't put it past them, but I think that to the CIA, Oswald was nobody. He was nothing to them. This was an O&I operation that came out of O&I, the false defector operation, that where they sent them behind the Iron Curtain. Some people say it was Angleton's operation, which may have been. And there may have been cooperation with Angleton. I don't think Angleton was involved in this. I know a lot of people say that. I believe this was an O&I operation, the phony defector program part, to get behind the Iron Curtain, because there were a lot of Marine-type guys who were involved in this thing. But look, I wouldn't put it past them. But what I'm saying is, to the CIA, he was nobody. To the CIA, to O&I, he was somebody. Clearly, that he worked with them and came back and was debriefed in Rotterdam by 2 O&I people. But yeah, that's possible. I just don't think he meant anything to the CIA. I know they had a file on him, but they would on anybody doing what Oswald was doing. Well, that being a 201 file I'm talking about.
They could use him like a contractor too. Like, hey,
absolutely.
We need a guy for a blah job. And
I mean, Bannister is using him to infiltrate Tulane University. Who is Tulane? Who is Bannister working for at that point? Because Tulane is the university in New Orleans, and Oswald was young enough to go in as a student, which he did, looking for pro-Castro students who were regular American kids, not Cubans, who were involved in going to school at Tulane, and that was one mission that we know that he was involved in. But who knows? Who set that up?
Yeah. Spinner Pete. Let's see, hold on. UK here. Internet rapidly being screwed here. Cover Starmer and Trump on Freeform Friday for a few minutes.
Well, I will on Friday. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I was expecting Trump to crush them, and yet he's toasting the guy with champagne.
And we'll talk about it on Friday. Mike Schaefer again. Mark, have you ever considered making a murderer board?
I do. I have it in my head, so nobody can get it. I have it in my head. I mean, I know this stuff so well. I'm not being arrogant about it. I just know these players so well in my head that I don't really need that. I mean, I know who everybody is. I know what as much as out there. Not that that's the full story, but I know as much as I could possibly know myself at this time about these various players. Broadly speaking, that is broadly speaking,
which is obvious because people throw names out, and you're like, well, that's blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean,
all the time. So,
I mean, like David Phillips. I mean, I know as much as I can that's out there in about David Atley Phillips. So is he on the murder board? Sure, he is. I mean, what his actual role was, we don't know. I mean, how many episodes did we do on E. Howard Hunt?
Yeah, well, and you even actually. One thing cool about the show is even though I'm learning from Mark's having to do the research to bone up on the episodes before they come out.
Yeah,
so
no,
you're learning new things all the time. Like LeMay, I think you've changed your opinion on a little bit over time.
I change my opinion on all these people all the time because there's new books and there's new research and there's new evidence about each person. And a lot of times I don't know anything about the person other than the revisionist, the original historians are one thing I've learned working with Eric here is that the original historians were so far left that every single thing has to be looked at with a grain of salt. You really have to pick it apart and see who's doing this and what their motivations are. I mean, you look at the historians today, like Douglas Brinkley and some of these others, they're so far to the left that they literally became presidential historians working on the payroll. Really despicable things. But a lot of these guys back then were also either CIA Operation Mockingbird types, which you have to delineate, as pointed out by Carl Bernstein in his famous 1977 Rolling Stone article, how many dozens and dozens and dozens of reporters were on the CIA payroll of journalism, of newspapers and magazines around the country. I mean, the one thing that Bernstein did was that much more important than Watergate was that 1977 Rolling Stone article outing Operation Mockingbird, and he should be credited for that forever. He did not have to do that, and he did. And so you have to take each book with a grain of salt. You got to see where it came from. In other words, there's books on Soviet agents who defected, and they're by Frank Gibney at Newsweek, who we then learn is Alex Gibney's father, who we then learn wrote a letter that I have to Dulles, begging to be removed from the Operation Mockingbird projects at Newsweek. And Dulles says, and the answer that, we'll have lunch and discuss it, Frank. You know what I mean? So, I mean, here's Alex Gibney's father, Frank Gibney, being outed by himself on Operation Mockingbird. So how do you take his book seriously on Soviet defectors? He's clearly working for the CIA, as was Priscilla McMillan, who did the Marina Oswald book, who interviewed Lee Harvey Oswald in the hotel in Moscow when he defected. She just shows up out of the blue.
Is that the one Max Good did a good job
with
on?
Yeah, she appears in the
doc bad in the
yeah, but we had already known. I mean, and since then, documents have come out during this release by Trump. Documents have come out clearly delineating that Priscilla McMillan was a CIA Operation Mockingbird journalist reporting for them. And she was there. She did the same thing with Khrushchev's daughter, who defected to the United States. She holed up with her in her own house with Khrushchev's daughter. She did the same thing with Marina Oswald and wrote the definitive made-up story of Marina Oswald in a book. So we know they exist, and you have to look at these books carefully as to who writes them. People say, "Did you read this book or that book?" I mean, you don't know who the authors are, and I do. And you don't know, and I'm not saying that you should. You may not know that a publishing house like Trine Day out of the Northwest's father was one of the biggest station chiefs in the CIA. You may not know that. And you pick up a book and you go, "Hey, it's a book. It's got to be true." Far from it in this genre. In this genre, there are a lot of phony books which are put out to feed the beast.
True. Dan Sundin from Locals is saying, actually, I'm going to go back up. Eyeball67 said, what implications are there from the JFK assassination for the idea of presidential immunity? What might this mean for any Obama inquiry? I don't know if it's
that I don't know. And I don't know.
That's an odd one.
I don't understand that question.
Don't have a good answer on that one, Oddball. Dan Sundin also said, I question, when visiting Dallas, did Mark ever walk the route Oswald supposedly walked from his rooming house to the Tippit murder scene?
Yes.
Have to do it in no more than 12 minutes.
I didn't bother to do. I didn't bother to do. So many people have done that before me. I didn't bother to do it. It's been done so many times. It's been done so many times.
It's like it can be done, and it's like Roger Bannister type.
You'd have to be Roger Bannister to do it, and then you'd have to move back the time, which they did. That he goes into the Texas Theater. Then Butch Burroughs says he's there. Butch Burroughs, the manager of the Texas Theater, says that Oswald was there for the opening previews of the film, which puts him there like 105. So there's complications. It's a timeline. The framing is really the timeline, and if you could find any kind of irrelevancies or erratic portions of the timeline, you begin to see how it comes apart. Because they wanted to have a timeline that fit everything in. So it's a jigsaw puzzle made by them to explain every minute of the day and the next day and the next day. And the timeline was the best they could do at that time. And they pressured people unbelievably for certain timelines. The women who came down the stairs, the secretaries who came down the back stairs, like I said, Bonnie Ray Williams being pressured to say that he left the sniper's nest earlier than he claims he left. Everything has a reason for them. The individual witness does not know what part of the equation, what part of the jigsaw puzzle he's being pressured to move his timeline back. But you could clearly see it if you read Warren Commission testimony of how they're obsessed with time.
True. Let's see.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mark Thompson. Question: was public access to Dealey Plaza restricted on November 22nd? Always see films of throngs of people along both sides of Main Street, yet the vast open area of the Plaza Park area was relatively empty.
No, it wasn't sealed off at all. In fact, this kid finds the skull portion of JFK's head the next day or Sunday. He walks right to where the X is, and he picks up a section of the skull. People picked up pieces of shrapnel. I mean, absolutely not sealed off. Now, keep in mind, the reason that there are such few people at the time of the assassination is because it was the very end of the parade route. There was nobody there because the Stemmons Freeway entrance is right there. And the bulk of the people had already seen the parade route, between Love Field and Dealey Plaza. So the reason there are very, very few people at Dealey Plaza, there are people, but the crowd is much thinned out than it was along the parade route, which is why it made such a great area to pull this off, and the Stemmons Freeway being right there.
All right. Somebody's yelling at us.
Okay.
All caps, guys, is yelling. It's not really a good form, but question, and this is not a challenge, but for clarification. What of the 8mm movies showing movement, etc., and witnesses as well in the 6th floor window?
Again, what of it? What of it?
I mean, there were people in the 6th floor. That doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, there were people in the building working. I mean, it's Bonnie Ray Williams, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I know this sounds impossible, but there's a man who claims to have been in that window eating lunch until 12:25. Is it possible Bonnie Ray Williams stood up? Yeah, I don't see the window open with Bonnie Ray Williams with a gun, because he had the chicken bone sandwich and the Dr. Pepper and the menthol cigarettes, which was his lunch. Now, Eric and I showed this to Eric when I took him to the 6th floor museum. The various photos that have surfaced by Dallas police and by reporters of various configurations of the boxes. I think we have it somewhere on our site. When they were trying to construct the sniper's nest, the Dallas police were arranging the bullet shells on the floor. They put them 3 together. But there's various photos of different configurations of the actual boxes of the sniper's nest, which nobody seems to care about except me.
I pointed out when I was there that the reconstruction doesn't match the photo.
Oh, that was true. That was absolutely true.
So I'm just going that it's so bad that you're standing there. There's a photo and there's a reconstruction, and you can go.
Well, yeah. They're not even trying now. But I'm saying an hour or two after the assassination, there are two different photos of the different box configurations, one on top of the other, one leaning. They're trying to create a sniper's nest, let me put it as bluntly as possible, out of what was left behind by Bonnie Ray Williams.
All right, Rustus Android, thank you. Years later, didn't they find spent shells on the roof of the book depository? If so, do we know the type of bullets they were?
Yeah, I don't take it seriously. I know that's true. It was on the top of the criminal courts building. I don't give a shit about that. I never did. I just thought a lot of people have been up there.
There's a certain point that you're like, okay, this is 4 years later. Nobody notices, but
right, except the guy who may have dropped it and found it. I'm sorry, I can't go there. I can't. It's a bridge too far for me personally, but that doesn't mean you can't go there and think about that. I just don't buy it.
I can't see that happening.
It's just a bridge too far.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose. The next day, 2 days later,
yeah.
Years later, it's like
no, it was like 15 years later.
I'm like, oh, okay. So, and how would you tie that together? It's like, well, any knucklehead could have gone up there even as a joke and left, whatever.
Right.
Shells. It doesn't seem relevant. Not a bot. Well, I'm glad I don't. We don't want bots. Does Mark have an idea who was in the police car that stopped at Oswald's rooming house and tapped the horn?
Yeah, I always thought it was like Westbrook and these other guys who were the framers. The Sergeant Hill, I think his name was. That's always been my impression. It was Sergeant Hill and Captain Westbrook who were looking for him at that point. Already had a phony Oswald wallet. I presumed it was them. That's always been my hunch. I don't know that, but they surfaced so quickly later. At the Tippit killing and the Texas Theater, and then back to the Texas School Book Depository. These seem to be the framers involved in putting the storyline together.
All right. Dustin wants to know who benefits from keeping the JFK truth buried.
Well, you've got, like I said, think about the legend of LBJ. Think about Bill Moyers. Think about all of the people around LBJ who became famous, the Jack Valenti. Think about his daughter, Courtney Valenti, the head of Warner Brothers. Dude, it goes on generationally. You think Courtney Valenti at Warner Brothers Pictures wants her father to be connected to LBJ, the murderer of JFK? Give me a break. Give me a break. It's endless. You think the LBJ library wants that story to become the narrative? Come on.
And a lot of people who could have been involved all have children. They don't want to hear that their dad did blah, blah, blah. Or even their granddad. I mean, it takes like 4 generations for people to just, stop caring in a sense.
Yeah.
But let's see. Steve Holland's yelling. Question, is it possible that Connelly was hit by more than one shot?
No. They traced it right from his back to his thigh. All right. That was pretty well established by the doctors. But it's not addressed by anybody else. If you listen to Dr. Shaw, somebody on our channel put up a link in the comment section last week to the Shaw press conference where he talks about the bullet being lodged in Connelly's left thigh, and that it wasn't a threat and would be removed at the earliest possible time. How a bullet ends up in your left thigh from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository is impossible.
All right. George Stefanik with a $10 super chat. Thank you.
I wonder if he's related to Stefanik from Buffalo.
Is it Elise Stefanik?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure the first name.
I think she's from Buffalo.
George McCabe. Question. Do Tippit files exist in your opinion?
The Tippit thing was covered. I don't know. I mean, Dallas police claim to have stuff on Tippit. I don't know what those files are. They're not. I don't think they're files that are federal. I think they would be state files that Dallas police claim to have had on Tippit. So the answer is yes, but where are they? That would be in somewhere in the Dallas Police Department.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
He was a local cop, is what I'm saying. So it wouldn't be National Archive stuff.
We got people asking about Larry Schnapf. Larry's not due until 7 o'clock Eastern, guys.
Okay.
So relax. He's coming up. Praise Adonai. I don't know. Thank you for all the research you do to get the truth out. Thank you.
Well, I was doing it before the show even began. So not this show. I mean, before we started the channel. So don't thank me. I was doing it anyway.
All right. Now we scroll through and catch up on more questions. Bone sandwich. We've got, of course, Alan is a troublemaker. I talk about yelling. So
that's funny.
So he starts doing it.
That's funny.
And as I said in a kind way, he's a psycho.
There was a guy named Harvey Glattman, the rope murderer from New Jersey, who I put in my mass murder cards. And when he killed all these people, no, I'm sorry, he wasn't a rope murderer. I think he killed them with a gun. But anyway, he sat on the curb when he ran out of ammunition in New Jersey. And when they came to pick him up, the cops, they said, what's up, bro? He just said, I'm no psycho. That was the first thing out of his mouth. I'm no psycho.
Wow. Well, I guess Kohlberger said, anyone else arrested?
Yeah, I know. It's similar.
Yeah, when people get picked up, it is very interesting.
Yeah.
What is the first thing they say?
I'm no psycho. I never forgot that.
All right. George Stefanik, going back to that day in November, if you both could go back in time, where would you stand in the plaza?
Yeah, where I stood with Eric.
Fence.
No, I would go up on the trestle on the far right side because that had what I believe was the throat shot, as I showed Eric, the far right side of the overpass trestle where they had bushes, and it was very close to the parking lot of the Terminal Annex building, which was a warren of government offices, the building on the other side of the Dealey Plaza. Not only can you see everything, you could see the picket fence, which is where Hoffman saw the smoke, and others. They were in the middle of the trestle. But if you go to the far right, you could see the direct angle to JFK's throat and the initial shot through the windshield into his throat. You will completely have a revelation when you stand at that point to explain, which nobody's ever explained, how and where the front throat shot comes from. Nobody ever addresses it. And when you go up there and stand on the right side of the trestle or the left side facing it, you will see the perfect vantage point for the throat shot. Now, it could have been a headshot because it goes through the windshield next to the rear view mirror, and maybe it deflected it down to his throat. But nevertheless, a pretty close shot from that spot. And that's possibly why you need more gunmen, because that shit can happen.
True. All right. This question here from Everett B. Question: was Williams in a hurry so he didn't have time to debone?
No.
They eat him that way.
he goes, it's page after page after page in the Warren Commission because they are befuddled by his bone chicken being between two pieces of bread. I ask everyone to go read the Bonnie Ray Williams testimony, because the last thing they want to talk to Bonnie Ray Williams about is him staying there till about 12:30. So they keep going on and on about the chicken sandwich. It's really funny to read. And he begins to explain how this is a custom there, which apparently it was, to eat a chicken leg sandwich with the bone in it between two pieces of bread. But the Warren Commission was fascinated by it.
All right. Well, perfect timing here. We have with us Larry Schnapf.
Oh, that's good.
Hey, how you doing, Larry?
Okay. Lighting okay?
Everything's good,
lighting
Larry.
is great.
Great.
You sound
wow.
good.
Sounds
good to have you here.
Okay. My pleasure. I watch you guys almost every week.
You know what? For the audience at home, let me just read this about Larry because they may not be hip as to who he is. Larry has been interested in JFK assassination since when it happened. Heard the shot in his 5th grade class. I was in 3rd grade, Larry. I don't know where you were, somewhere in Brooklyn, I presume. I was at
Jersey.
Oh, I was at PS 194 in Sheepshead Bay. I didn't know Larry then. He was a little bit older than me. Larry completed an independent study project on JFK assassination, wrote a series of early articles on the flawed Warren Commission investigation, board member of CAPA, where he was the chair of the CAPA Legal Committee, organized a 2-day 2017 mock trial of Lee Oswald held at the South Texas College Law, and the 2019 CAPA Mock Court of Inquiry, which I didn't know about. In both of these proceedings, he served as co-defense counsel.
With Bill Simpich.
What's that?
With Bill Simpich.
With Bill Simpich. Was Tannenbaum involved in that at all?
Tannenbaum was involved in the mock trial.
In the mock trial, right. Okay. He also has lectured on various legal and evidentiary issues concerning the JFK assassination. Larry filed a FOIA lawsuit against the National Archives to obtain the underlying correspondence related to the Trump postponements of the JFK records in 2017, 2018. In 2021 and 22, Larry also organized a group of open government organizations, historians, and prominent JFK researchers to request Congress to hold oversight hearings on the failure of the executive branch to comply with the JFK Records Act. He also organized a similar group in 2021 that requested that President Biden to release all the JFK records by October 26, 2021, deadline established by President Trump. Larry serves as co-counsel to the Mary Ferrell Foundation, of which I'm a member, in its lawsuit against President Biden, as co-counsel to the Mary Ferrell Foundation and the National Archives, that was filed in federal district court for the Northern District of California, seeking release of the remaining JFK assassination records and an injunction ordering the National Archives to complete the outstanding record searches that the Assassination Records Review Board requested in 1998. Larry has a website devoted to JFK assassination, which is https://jfkesi.com, and a Facebook page, JFK, The Hard Evidence or Junk Science, available at www.facebook.com groups, and there's some numbers there. He's also co-host of JFK Facts podcast with Jefferson Morley. Yeah, I've been meaning to get you on here for a long time. We've just been backed up with other people, Larry. Sorry for the long delay. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. I've been looking to get you on for a long time, bro. Thanks for being a fan of the show.
Are you doing anything with Andrew Eiler? I think he was, or there's some other lawyers that are also suing on documents. I didn't know if you guys all worked together on that.
Andrew was originally part of our research team when we were trying to find someone to a plaintiff, and then Andrew didn't stay on with the team for the lawsuit.
Okay.
But Mark, I was born in the Bronx, but at the age of 10, then we moved to Central Jersey, which is in the sticks in those days. And in fact, you'll like this story. The day of the assassination, I'm like, where I grew up in Manawan, it was like just nothing. And one of my friends calls me up when I get home and says, "We hear the assassin is in New Jersey."
What?
So like, this is like 2:30, right? So this is we're 10 years old.
Right.
It's 2:30. Right, an hour after the assassination, and forget the fact there were no jets in those days, right?
Right.
So my friend says the assassin is in New Jersey, and he's coming our way.
Oh
so
my God!
We grab another friend. We get our Boy Scout knives and a bunch of rope.
That's hysterical.
We go down to the creek to wait for him to come by.
Of course.
Our rifle.
That's brilliant, Larry. That's brilliant.
And we wait the whole day, the whole afternoon. Nothing happens, and then it gets dark. We have to go back. Our mothers would be really mad at us. So,
it's like out of a Woody Allen movie or something, you know?
It's like, I mean, even if you had a jet, you couldn't get back from Dallas in an hour.
10-year-old kids have the greatest imaginations of anybody in the world.
Yes.
I mean, to come up with that in the moment of crisis is just gold, Jerry, gold.
Well, like, wasn't Rob Reiner's movie about your best friend at the age of 10 or something? Stand By Me. That was about your friend at 10 years old, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And there's also a creek, and there's always a creek, Larry.
Yes. There's always a
there's always a creek, and 10-year-old boys are doing shit at the creek all the time.
Right. Well, where did you have a creek in Brooklyn?
I grew up on Avenue K. Then we moved to Sheepshead Bay, so I actually had an ocean.
Okay.
I lived on Knapp Street, which was pretty close to the water, Marine Park, and then eventually out to Massapequa, also on the water.
Yes.
So we always had water there.
Yeah. So so then in 8th grade we had split sessions, and so I was staying up late. And that's why I discovered Alan Burke and Joe Pine.
Oh my God, Alan Burke! I haven't heard Alan Burke's name in years, Larry.
Yes,
dude, he was so scary. I thought he was like a sorcerer.
Yes,
with the black. Didn't he have the black beard?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, Joe Pine, I could take or leave, but Burke scared me. I was terrified.
He would look like one of these little communist.
Right. Yeah, he looked like Lenin or something.
Yes, that's what I was thinking about. That's how I learned about all the questions about the Kennedy assassination. I'm like, now I'm in 8th grade and I'm listening to these guys, and then I of course got Tink Thompson's book 6 Seconds in Dallas.
Yeah,
and it's funny. Tink helped us with the mock trial, and I never returned the book to the library, much like Seinfeld with the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
So when we had the mock trial, I brought my library version of 6 Seconds in Dallas for Tink to autograph.
Wow, I did that with the Rosenberg's book, Inquest to remember the definitive book on the Rosenbergs.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I stole that from the library. I owe that library an amends at some point.
Yes, well, now we can make donations.
We can make donations. So tell us about the mock trials. I wanted to ask you about both of them. Tell us about the first mock trial and how it came to be, what happened, and what were the results.
So, there's been 7 mock trials.
Right.
Since 1967.
Yeah.
6 of them have resulted in either acquittals or a hung jury. The only one that resulted in a conviction was the one with Vincent Bugliosi and Jerry Spence. His courtroom theatrics rather than dealing with the evidence.
That was the London inquest. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got so Dr. Wecht, who was the chair of Kappa, knew the dean at the South Texas College of Law in Houston. So I flew out there and I had to convince them that this was this not a wacky thing, and so we got a real judge from the state of Texas, Carahan. We got a jury expert to pick a real jury, and then it was a 2-day mock trial. We were going to make a whole bunch of motion practice to try to exclude evidence, because we think a lot of the evidence that was used against Oswald never would have survived in court.
True.
Thrown out or would have given instructions, about the. Yeah. But because we only had 2 days, we decided to just let the government admit all the evidence. So Bob Tannenbaum took the first day, which was really focused on the medical evidence. And then the second day, Bill and I took we actually defended Oswald. We did the whereabouts. We showed that, there's more evidence of Oswald being elsewhere than on the 6th floor at 12:30,
Right.
And we also did, some of the rifle and some of the forensic evidence. And unfortunately, the first day went over to the second day. I wanted a full 5 hours for the jury. We only ended up having 2 hours for the jury. So we got.
Let me ask you something. How was the jury selection done?
A jury consultant selected it. It was
okay.
An actual. He went out and got a pool from Houston. It was representative. It was a representative jury, so it was a real jury. And actually, what we did was I had it filmed, so we could see, how the jury in a modern jury would deal with the evidence. And they were actually going in our direction, but we only had 2 hours. So we ended up with a hung jury. Alec Baldwin was our keynote speaker the night before the second. That's where
who knows something about shooting.
Yes. Well, he didn't then.
He didn't then. Well, his father was the rifle coach at Massapequa High School, so maybe he did.
Yeah, well, interesting. That is where he did the reveal. Like I'm trying to. Alex is an interesting guy because
no kidding. Yeah,
it was hard to pin him down, and finally, the day of the presentation, I finally got 5 minutes with him, and I said to him, how come people like Rachel Maddow and Chris Matthews always support the Warren Commission? He said, I'll tell you why. He said, because when I tried to put a program on in 2013 on the 50th anniversary, I got a whole bunch of people lined up, and I was told that there was a position of NBC to support the Warren Commission.
Yeah, interesting.
And so I said, can you say that publicly? He says, sure, no problem. And so that was the big,
Wow, that's a big reveal.
Yeah. And then he's actually been very helpful on, whenever we tried to, during some of these informal efforts to try to convince Congress or, the president to try to release their records, he always agreed to sign whatever.
Has Rob Reiner helped at all, or?
I couldn't get Rob Reiner and Alec Baldwin to sign the same document. Interesting. Apparently, there's something going on between them.
Yeah, I know. No, I was wondering about that because I've heard that too.
Yeah. So now I did work with John Orr, who is the former Department of Justice attorney, who he put together. He's the one that found the organic material on the limo fragments in the car.
Yeah.
And he convinced Janet Reno when he was at Department of Justice to do a test on them, and we found out that they were human tissue. John has continued his interest in it. Now, John thinks Oswald did it, but I work with people I can agree with on the issues we agree on, right?
Right, sure.
So he has created what is probably the most accurate 3D animation of Dealey Plaza. He took all the extent photographs. We got drone. He did photogrammetry, the whole thing together. And his focus was on the single bullet theory to see whether it could actually work.
Right.
And what we determined was if the bullet actually went through both Connelly and Kennedy, it would have circumcised Connelly.
Which I was just discussing how crazy that angle is regarding Connelly.
Yes.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah. It would have come out of his belly and then it would have gone,
into his scrotum. You could say scrotum.
Exactly.
YouTube's lightened up now. You could say scrotum.
Okay. So, John thinks that the mafia put Oswald up to it, but he doesn't. He thinks it's a second rear gunner. So, I agree with him. Anyway, so we presented this to Rob Reiner. And Rob Reiner was going to use it in his series, but then his series never became a TV series. It became a
podcast. Right.
Yeah.
I think one of his sources was Mike Pompeo, according to Rob Reiner.
Really?
Like he had no dog in the hunt, Mike Pompeo, I guess. But he claims that was one of his sources.
Well, we now know because of the lawsuit against trying to getting the records from the Trump era, that Mike Pompeo was in fact the person that went to the president. Trump goes on Monday or the 2 days before the deadline. He says, "I'm going to release the records."
Right.
And what my lawsuit shows, they immediately settled, and I got thousands of files, and it showed that there was like version 12 of an executive order being circulated. So Trump didn't know, and presidents don't know about it.
Right, of course.
So
well, let's go back to the mock trials. I just want to finish that story, and then the second mock trial. So there's in day 2, what is going on? Do you have witnesses? Do you present before? Is there an audience? Is it filmed? Tell us how it looks.
Yeah, we have. It was filmed, and it should be on. I think it was available on CAPA's website. I don't know if it's still
okay.
We had witnesses. Obviously the witnesses at the date assassination, most of them are gone. But we had Brian Edwards testified about the rifle. Cliff Spiegelman. I used when the HSCA tested the rifle in '78, the bullets did not match the bullets from '64.
Right.
And so they claimed that was because the rifle had decayed over the time. And I got Cliff Spiegelman, who's a statistician, and he's the one that basically debunked the lead bullet analysis. He was one of our witnesses. Gary Aguilar was a witness. And then we relied on a lot of the testimony that was in the record. So that we had people in the crowd. And then when the jury was deliberating, I put on what I call the CLE, Continuing Legal Education Ethics presentation on how Oswald's rights were violated while he was in police custody.
Right.
And so that was to try to get ethics credits because lawyers.
Well, how do you think his rights were violated? I mean, for the audience at home.
Basically, the lineups were legally flawed.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He asked for counsel. He wasn't given counsel.
Multiple times, right, Larry?
Yeah. So I kind of go through, I have PowerPoint, and I actually used some of my slides were based on a presentation Burt Griffin had done. Who's
this is from the Warren Commission judge.
Yes. And he was an interesting guy because he initially was very doubtful about Ruby and when he was going to speak at Kappa, and I think they got to him, and suddenly he stepped away, and he's become a hardline now. He's try to equate Oswald, the shooting, to the civil rights and the violence of the 60s.
Interesting.
So we had just a couple of hours to defend Oswald, and then it was largely based on whereabouts and and also
whereabouts within the building itself.
Yeah,
right.
And some other. We also, looked at the backyard photos and some other stuff. So, we have to create reasonable doubt, and I thought we did. And I think had the jury been out longer, I think we would have gotten an acquittal.
Interesting.
In our direction, and we only had 2 hours. I was looking at the video of the jury deliberations, and you can see they're starting to go in our direction. So.
Wow. Was it like 12 Angry Men where there was one person and then they won them all over, Larry? Or
there was a couple people that, interestingly, it was the older people were more resistant to conspiracy theory than the younger people.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
What year was it? What year was this?
2017.
Oh, wow. It's pretty recent. Wow.
Yes. And then the following year, we tried what we call a court of inquiry. Now, this is interesting. Texas still has this court of inquiry proceeding where you could try to expunge a person's conviction.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Oswald never got a chance, was not convicted legally, got convicted in the court of public opinion. And Bill Simpich and I actually approached Marina Oswald and said, we will do this pro bono. We will bring an actual court of inquiry petition. This is a discretionary proceeding. And we had, through Capo, we knew the head of the Democratic Party in Dallas, and that guy appointed judges.
Yeah.
So we were going to be able to try to get a judge that would be receptive, right? And we said to Marina, look, this is about your descendants. We don't want you to be like the Mudd family from the Lincoln assassination, when Dr. Mudd, was convicted of conspiracy because he fixed John Wilkes Booth's ankle.
Well, a descendant of CBS's Mudd, the anchorman.
Yes. Although apparently, your name like Mudd is not related. That was preceding that incident.
Okay.
So she declined. We said there will pro bono, we'll do it, and we can still this can still be done. But the daughters, if any your listeners know the daughters, we'd like to appeal to them, because we could actually, what we're going to do is bring a court of inquiry petition to expunge Oswald's arrest on the grounds of lack of probable cause.
Right.
And the judge that was involved in our mock trial was helping me, formulate because he knew the law, and I was going to have to get a Texas lawyer to help us. But
can you work in Texas or no? You as a lawyer?
I'd have to get waived in. Like I got waived into California. Bill is the lead counsel, and I got waived in what they call pro hoc vici. because a lot of the lawsuit, Bill's a civil rights attorney.
Where is he, in Northern California, Larry?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, right? Yeah.
And
Mark,
so
I could talk to Nate or Kurt on civil law. They're both Texas.
Oh, okay. And so that's still a viable claim. We just need to get someone from the family. Well, it's best if someone from the family is a plaintiff. Mm-hmm. We were going to do it no charge, pro bono, just because we want to set history right. And she just was, and what shocked me is that in 1995, she supposedly got a team of lawyers.
That's what I was going to just ask you about. Go on. Yeah, go ahead.
And they never came up with this. It's like, how did that not come up? I don't understand, because I know that story as well in Massachusetts. They brought her up to Massachusetts to strategize, right, Larry? Yeah. And I guess there was no one that knew Texas law. I mean, Bill and I figured it out like in 2 hours.
Right.
We started looking around. Is there something we can do? And yeah, boom, came right up. Wow. So that's what that was the proceeding that the Attorney General in Texas was going to use. That Johnson nixed with the Warren Commission.
Right.
So at least that proceeding. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So if anyone knows the Oswald daughters.
One of the two daughters, I think, might be, I forget which one, but one of the two, I think, might be your gal. Because I know there's one that's really interested in the legacy, as opposed to the other one, who I don't think is. I forget which one is which, but
I think Robert Groden knows both daughters.
Bob probably knows, but he knows both daughters. I'll talk to Bob about it and see what.
And, so I think Marina got burned by that incident in the mid '90s, and then she just wanted to spend time with her granddaughters, and I said,
right.
You don't even have to go in the court. I mean, we'll just do it without you. We just need to put your name on the complaint.
Right.
Petition. And
sounds like a no-brainer, Larry. I mean, it doesn't sound that complicated.
No, the hard part is to get once a judge lets you bring the petition, you have to first have a court accept the petition.
Right.
I think once we get past that hurdle. Now, unfortunately, the guy that was going to be helping us get the judge, he had a heart attack and died.
So they say, Larry. So they say. He was jogging 10 miles a day.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. What I heard was his doctor told him to jog 5 miles a day for 7 days. And after a week, he called his doctor and said, I'm 35 miles from home. What do I do now? And then he dropped dead of a heart attack. So there's more to it, Larry.
Okay. It was probably right by Daily Plaza, too, where he dropped dead.
Right. He was just going in for a Coke at a Coke machine on the second floor. What the hell's in that Coke machine that everybody has to die, Larry?
So the next year, so 2018, was it 2018 or 2019? 2019. We did the Court of Inquiry, and John Orr served as the state. Now,
tell us the structure of the Court of Inquiry, how it differs from the visuals of a court, from the mock trial, the first mock trial.
Well, it's very similar, except that you don't have a jury.
Okay. All right.
Judge, right?
Yeah.
And basically, we're trying to show that there was an injustice done, and we're appealing to the court's sense of justice. It's an equitable proceeding. So we basically did a mock Court of Inquiry. So the judge from the mock trial sat in. John Orr served as the state prosecutor. He was really good.
Okay.
Bill and I did we're the petitioners, and then COVID hit, so we never got a decision.
Wow. What is it? That might have been pre-planned also, trying to throw a monkey wrench into your operations.
Yeah, right. That's like the guy that, I guess it was your joke about the guy that goes to heaven and he says to St. Peter, I want to know who killed Kennedy. And he says Oswald. And the guy says, well, this is going higher than I really thought it was, right?
Somebody just sent that earlier today.
Who said it?
Who that was. Somebody sent that earlier today. I literally saw that.
Okay. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh, it was on X. Yeah, somebody replied to our when I posted on the show.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. So the conspiracy goes really high.
Much high. Yeah, much higher. Okay, so you have this Court of Inquiry. Is that one day, Larry, or?
So what we did was we did it as part of the CAPA 2019 conference. So we did the whole, and we only had a couple of hours, and people stayed over lunch we actually had more people. I mean, it was amazing the questions we were getting that we didn't even address as part of the proceeding. That was the same day that the CIA guy Larson Moleth. I got him to speak at that conference as well, because, and I got a lot of flack on that because he was CIA. But I said,
I'm pretty reluctant to do that as well.
Yeah, but he had an interesting take on, he said if the CIA was behind it, he actually went forth and said, here's who the people.
Sounds like OJ if I did it.
Yes.
If I did do it, this is how I, as OJ, would have killed the president.
Right. So we never got a ruling on the court of inquiry, and then obviously Biden comes into power, and Biden voted for the statute, and we think that obviously Trump got played by the National Security Council. What I found out, and I don't know if you know this, but your listeners may not know this, is that what my lawsuit showed was that the NSC hijacked the process.
Wow.
And the National Archives, the archivists actually objected to the grounds that the CIA and the FBI were using to postpone the records. And he was overruled by the National Security Council. Not only was he overruled, he was then asked to write a letter to the president postponing the records.
This is the chief archivist, I assume you're talking about.
At that point, it was Ferrara.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, and so then this National Security Council drafted the letter for him, and I remember Bosanko. There's an email from Bosanko to Bosanko was the chief operating officer, and there's an email from Bosanko to Ferrara saying the president's going to have to live with this date.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, and so but the archives actually tried. So they said the CIA's grounds would not comply with the statute, and then the FBI was taking, they were calling the 100-year rule. So the FBI, most of their FBI records that are being withheld were the Casa Nostra records, and it was mainly witnesses, informants, and the statute says that the names can be revealed unless there's an imminent harm to the person.
Yeah,
the FBI was using a test of 100 years. So they said that basically make sure the person was dead before they released the name, and the archive said no, this is not what the statute says, and they got overruled. So based on that, then I got together a bunch of historians and writers and lawyers, and we wrote a letter to Biden asking him to release the records. Nothing happened. So then I went to Congress, and my congressperson, Carolyn Maloney, she was from the east side of Manhattan. She was the old John Lindsay.
Hey, I had Nadler on the west side. He was
okay. Well, now Nadler's now my representative. But
did you move to the west side or
no? When they redistricted.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Carolyn Maloney actually had her primary was against Nadler.
No, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Wow.
So it used to be there was a separate district for the west side, east side.
Yeah.
Now it's like the upper west side, upper east side are Nadler, and they reconfigured everything. It's crazy.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
So I contacted her office, and I get no response from her. And then I contacted Nadler, even though he wasn't my representative at the time, but he was going to be. And his office jumped on it, and then, but. This was like in the fall of 22, and they didn't want to embarrass Biden. The Democrats were not going to embarrass Biden by holding a hearing.
Right.
So they said, well, we'll do stuff behind the scenes. And at that point, we said, we're going to have to file a lawsuit. And so luckily, Mary Ferrell agreed to step up. And then
explain to the people at home who Mary Ferrell was, what the foundation is, and what your role is in the foundation, Larry. A lot of people don't know.
Mary Ferrell was a researcher, and the Mary Ferrell Foundation is probably the leading place to go if you're looking for JFK records. We don't have the entire collection, but we have a good portion of it. But it's the first place you go because the NARA site is not easy to navigate.
That's
so you go there, and we also have state-of-the-art computer searching. I mean, it's just really, you plug in a name, you could do OCR, all the stuff you can't do with NARA. In fact, we're offering to help NARA as part of a settlement.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So they were the leading source of records. I mean, ARC is another one, but Mary Ferrell is by far the best resource.
Well, she passed away, but the foundation lived on after. And then I think Rex Bradford took over.
So Rex is fabulous. And
absolutely fantastic.
His computer skills are unbelievable. So the board agreed to bring the lawsuit. We had to kind of Bill and I basically put together, a brief telling him what we think the grounds are. And it's really an administrative law case because it's the failure of the president and also the NARA to comply with their obligations under the law. And so
it seems black and white, Larry. It really does seem pretty simple.
Yeah, well, we unfortunately got it. So we followed in the Northern District of California because that district was very, very active in overturning Trump executive orders in Trump 1.0. So the district court in Washington is very deferential to the president. But just like now, where the Democrats have like 3 favored districts that they file to try to stop Trump orders, they did, and the Northern District in 2017 was one of those. And so we figured, let's go to a district that is going to be more receptive to a challenge to the president's authority. Unfortunately, we got a judge who's, although he's a Democratic appointee, so he basically threw Biden out of the case. And then we were left with NARA. Then I was on it. So then now we tried to bring a motion to get NARA. NARA said, so just for your listeners, when the ARB, I don't think Congress did not understand the gravity of the problem when they passed the JFK Records Act. They wanted to get an act out there, but they didn't understand the task. And because there were records all over the government. Yeah. And so this
is 1992.
Yeah.
We're talking about.
The act was signed into law in 1992. It took a year.
This is the president calling, Larry. I just want to say you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
It took them a year to get the ARB up and running.
Yeah.
And then they needed an extension, 2 extensions. And unfortunately, when Tunheim, who was the chair, Judge John Tunheim, who's a great guy, in the last year he got his extension, they asked him, is this going to be enough time to finish your work? And he said, yes. And it turned out it wasn't.
Right.
And it just 4 years, I mean, there's still outstanding requests from 1998. So Congress did not expressly provide what happens if the work is not finished. So we have to read the leaves, the tea leaves.
Yeah.
And this statute is what we call a remedial statute. So you're supposed to look at it and say, what was Congress's intent? And you try to achieve the purposes of the statute, as opposed to reading every little, dotting every I and crossing every T, which you do with the different statutes. So we're saying this is a liberal statute. It should be remedial statute should be liberally interpreted. Congress even said in its findings that we're passing this law because FOIA doesn't work and the executive orders that the president has issued for national security don't work. They've operated to postpone the records. I remember the records were not going to be post-release until 2029.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
as Oliver Stone points out in his film.
Right. And so so in 1992, they say, okay, all the records should be released by 2017. Those that are, so the ARB there was 2 missions. One was all the agencies had to scour their records and then transmit records to the National Archives to put in a collection. And then the review board was to review any request for postponement. And the records that couldn't be released would be then released in 2017 at the latest. And the FBI actually was the biggest culprit in trying to push back on releasing.
Really?
I thought it'd be the CIA, but it was actually the FBI actually went up to President Clinton twice.
Wow.
Clinton's office said, guys, work it out.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the last year of the ARB, they were using kind of streamlined processes. They were trusting. A lot of trust was involved in saying, okay, these records can be postponed, and the searches didn't seem to be as thorough as they were the first couple of years. Anyway, so they're supposed to be released in 2017, and obviously, Pompeo convinces Trump to postpone the records twice.
Yeah.
And so now we're going into court, and the Department of Justice comes up with this really a very stringent, narrow interpretation of the statute, which is completely not what the statute was intended to do. And they created these artificial deadlines of saying there were like 6 grounds for postponing the records. And they told the judge, well, this was only for the period of time before when the ARB was in existence. And then after 2017, the president basically is free to do what he wants.
Oh, my God.
And so, and I also tried to bring, so this Administrative Procedures Act that you bring against the agencies, the president is not considered an agency for purposes of the Administrative Procedures Act. So I brought this thing called a non-statutory review, but the judge just threw out Biden. He said Biden has no reason to be in this case. So
the FOIA requests that you filed are to who specifically?
They were, I filed them with National Archives asking for all of the correspondence related to the Trump postponements.
Interesting.
And I'm going to file another one for the Biden postponements. So I am certain, based on what I saw what happened with the NSC with Trump, I will, all of Biden's executive orders postponing the records were auto-signed.
Oh, well, what wasn't? He signed a baseball for me at the All-Star game. It was the auto pen, Larry. I'm really upset. Don't use that in town.
Yeah, right. So I'm convinced that someone in the NSC signed the executive order. The executive order.
Well, it worked the first time. Why wouldn't they do it again?
Right. And then what Biden did was approve these transparency plans, which is a classic Orwellian term that would have allowed the CIA and the FBI and Department of Defense to postpone records into the 2040s. And in fact, some of the Department of Defense records could be postponed indefinitely because it said that if the record pertains to a country that we have a national security arrangement with, it'll continue until that national security arrangement ends. What's a national security arrangement? NATO.
Or any country. We have a national security arrangement with every country on the earth.
So here where the Congress was concerned about 2029, now they're postponing records back.
Oh, my God.
And then on top of that, Biden allowed, basically it was a wish list. The CIA came up with criteria that were not in the statute, and Biden certifies that, not only certifies that the records should be postponed. In his last executive order, he goes, this is the final act required under the statute. Now, the statute says that the act remains in effect until the archivist certifies that everything's been released under the act.
Right.
So, we pointed it out to the judge, and he just, it's within the president's discretion.
I don't even know if we have an archivist right now. I think it's waiting Senate approval.
I think the archivist is Rubio.
Isn't there a temporary archivist right now, or
Rubio? Was Rubio appointed the acting archivist?
It's an acting archivist, and you need Senate approval.
One of his 5 jobs.
Yeah.
and interestingly, I mean, Rubio he can help us with Russia and with Mexico because there are still records.
And also with Cuba.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is obviously a free-ranging conversation. We can go.
No, we don't care. We don't give a shit.
But we know that. I mean, Luna has this agreement that Russia's going to turn over the 5 feet of KGB.
We were just talking about that before you came on. But
is there going to be another hearing with Luna?
Yes, and she's going to have a hearing with on RFK as well. I understand.
Oh, that I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'm in contact with the people that are. I mean, the woman Denise that's representing Sirhan.
Oh, I know Denise.
Okay, and so I've been helping them. You know, because I like you. I have friends in the administration. So yeah. So I'm the conservative on JFK Facts. I'm the conservative half of the.
Well, we should hook up on RFK because I was involved in the parole hearing with RFK Jr. and I was the one who pitched the board that convinced them to issue the pardon for the parole, and then it was knocked down by Newsom. So right. We should talk about that later when we get into RFK later on.
One of the things we want to do is have Luna try to get forensic tests done on a number of things, one of which is the forensic test. Denise wants forensic tests on the bullets. And she's been denied that, I think, with California.
The gun's floating around too, as you know, Larry.
Yeah. So there's forensic tests that I think the way it has to be done is I think Luna's going to have to ask the NIST to do the tests because they don't have any money. Her task force.
I was going to ask you about that. Are they funded at all?
Well, they have funding for.
As an oversight committee, they have funding.
Right. I mean, they have funding to operate, but they don't have funds to conduct an investigation.
Right.
I mean, honestly, if it turns out that some of these records, particularly the Joannides monthly reports and operational reports, if those records have been determined to be destroyed, Congress can appoint a special prosecutor.
Yeah, that would cross the line. That would really cross the line.
Because we know they existed at one point.
Yeah. And also, I think Jefferson mentioned the William Harvey travel records that have been long sought after.
Right. And so another example of how the declassification process is flawed, this guy, Donald Heath, had conducted an investigation on behalf of the CIA. He went down to Miami the weekend of the assassination through March. They were investigating whether the exiles or the Castro sympathizers were behind the assassination. We didn't know who had written this memo. He wrote a memo to the HSCA saying there are these situation reports that discuss our investigation, and they're in this guy McLean, his office. The last time I saw them was in 1973. So I don't think they ever looked for them. And we didn't know who wrote the memo. And finally, he dies in 2019. One of the Biden releases really gives us his name. Obviously, we can't talk to him now.
Right.
So now we're trying to get one of the things that I've asked Gabbert to get is to try to find these situation reports. We know where they were in 1973. No evidence had ever been looked for since then. Also trying to get Bondi to get the Carlos Marcello recordings from the Camtex sting operation released because he allegedly confessed. And
I thought I've heard those. Have you heard those before? Why am I imagining this?
No. So no one's heard the Camtex. Well, there's two sting operations. The Bride Lab from 1980. Yeah. And then there's the Camtex from the mid 80s. What we have is memos that Jack Van Langenham, who was the informant, he wrote what Marcello said to him.
Right.
And the FBI guys that were running him said he was credible. But those tapes were never introduced in the court, and they've been sealed. And so we're trying to get them unsealed. And I like to get the Bride Lab tapes unsealed as well, because you want to hear the way the person is saying. Is that just
of course.
Right? Because it's inflections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that Luna can do, and I have through some of my friends. One of my friends actually sat with her last week.
Where are we with the KGB Oswald files at this time? Do you have any insight into that?
They're supposed to be. They're going to be turned. The current plan is they're going to be turned over in the fall.
Right. Okay.
I suppose they're in Russian.
I assume. What other language would they be in, Larry?
So someone's going to have to translate them.
Okay.
Well, AI is pretty good on some of that. That'll help a lot.
Okay. And then the other thing is there are records. Allegedly, the Mexican government got dupes of all the recordings that the CIA did. That was part of the consideration for us being able to bug the embassies, the Russian and Cuban embassies in Mexico City. Allegedly, the Mexican government has copies of those tapes, and we could listen to them.
Allegedly, even the Mexican president at the time was allowed to listen to them.
Yes.
Am I crazy, or you heard?
Yes. The reason that these records, the reason they didn't want to disclose the existence of this operation was because they were concerned that if it got out, the record, the Mexican government would collapse. Well, that was 1964.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
I mean, some of this stuff is crazy. There was one record that was released.
Well, it's also the torture of Sylvia Duran ordered by the. I mean, the physical torture. Was ordered of the Mexican intelligence police to physically torture her, Larry.
Right. And then I think they were also instructed by us not to ask her certain questions.
Yeah.
But like the overclassification is such a problem. And like there was one document that got released, I think in 21 or something, and it was about Oswald in Japan. There was nothing in that document that we did not already know already.
Yeah.
The reason it wasn't released was because it had been collected by our listening station in Australia.
Right.
And we had promised the Australian government that if they let us put a station on their soil, we would never reveal the existence of it. So they hide this all those years, even in the 2010s when the most popular show on TV in Australia was about Pine Gap, which was...
Yeah, no, I have said this repeatedly on this show, that what's at the bottom of the barrel is international. And I don't mean that international in a conspiracy method, but international in embarrassment and involving Mexico. I mentioned Australia repeatedly because of submarines and radio technology we were sharing with them, and things like you're mentioning here.
I mean, there's a funny document that was released a couple of years ago, and we're asking the Russians to release their records, and they said, "How about releasing your own records to your own people first?"
That's funny. That's funny. I like that. Well, they do have a sense of humor over there. I mean,
so anyway, so the lawsuit is still going on.
Okay,
we're on the verge of doing a discovery plan. Interestingly enough, even though the administration has changed and the leadership of the archives has changed,
right,
there hasn't been any change in our litigation strategy yet.
In your strategy?
The government strategy.
Oh, on their side, right? Gotcha.
Fighting us, even though Trump issued this order saying all records held by the government should be released. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's Bondi.
It's crazy. I don't know who's.
It's not only here. It's not only here, but Bondi has been literally defending some of the Biden stuff, like against RFK. Even though RFK is a complete flip from what was there, the DOJ is still fighting the exact same case, marching along. So I think it's the same people who are in their position, and it's not, the memo's not getting through from the top down.
Right. Because you get and honestly, she's so right now probably
overwhelmed
with Epstein.
Yeah.
That she doesn't have time to do this other stuff. And then
plus the hair and makeup, Larry. I mean, this is a
all
difficult
the files
situation.
On her desk she's got to go through. Her Fox rotation. Larry. I mean,
there's a lot on her desk and her life and everything. Come on, be a mensch here. The woman looks, she's not so young anymore.
Right.
But
that's just weird. Like, I mean, even so, supposedly the client is the National Archives, and all the leadership has changed. So, and let
me ask something. When did the National Archives become politicized, in your opinion? When did they get involved in this political world? I always thought they were, just as my naivete, that they didn't have a dog in the hunt. Now it turns out that they apparently do have dogs in hunts regarding politics.
Wikipedia. It's like Wikipedia, Mark.
It's interesting. So the Department of Justice represents them. So partially the Department of Justice. I mean, I know for a fact that Ferrara and Bocinco were really good guys that wanted to release records, but they also said that they needed to maintain a good relationship with the CIA. So a lot of the bureaucratic stuff, it's like, I deal with you every day. You're CIA, you're a records guy. I'm a bureaucrat. You're a bureaucrat, and they just try to make nice. And
right. Well, is Morley happy with the Joe and Edie's operational file or personal file? Let me put it that way.
Oh yeah, he's happy with the personnel file.
Yeah, the personnel file.
I think it doesn't go as far as what he would like it to go. There's still no. There's no. You may have to make inferences that Joe and Edie's knew who Oswald was.
Right. Well, let me just stop you right there, because that's what I've been saying all week. It's a leap right there, and the DRE is right in between.
Right.
Which is a legitimate organization on the one side, but also being funded by the CIA on the other side.
Right.
Okay.
And the second leap is that the DRE was running Oswald. So there's an inference there, but I could not go into court right now and say, Your Honor, here's definitive proof. I could make an argument. I could bring a claim for conspiracy. I could successfully make a claim right now that Marcello and Trafficante and Hoffa conspired to try to kill the president.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think Marcello probably helped pay for it, the operation, but clearly the mafia kills people with pistols and shotguns. They don't do high.
Well, somebody paid Jack Ruby $50,000, Larry.
Right. So I think Marcello.
It came through the Campisi brothers and maybe through Marcello. Yeah. That's been established fairly well. But
some of this other stuff, I have to look at it from an evidentiary standpoint. I know what Jeff's saying, and maybe the operational files will reveal some more, but from the personnel, it was important stuff there, but I can't say that Joe and Edie's knew who Oswald was, and I can't
explain who the DRE is for people who don't know, and his relationship to who was running them, which is Joe and Edie's.
So DRE was one of the more aggressive of the exile groups. They were located in New Orleans, and they were running, anti-Castro operations, and Oswald encountered them. He allegedly went to the head of was he the head, or
you're talking about Carlos Bringuier or
Bringuier? Yeah. He went to his store and said, I can help train you guys.
He turns over his Marine manual to them. Yeah.
And then the next thing they start, who is this guy? They're suspicious. The next thing you know, he's handing out these flyers, in New Orleans, and he gets into a fight with him.
Possibly with Ted Cruz's father,
Yeah, that's right. And I think, by the way, someone came out and showed that was a whole PR stunt.
Not really. Not from what my research hasn't, that's for sure. Because he literally goes from New Orleans to Toronto, and then he's working in the oil industry in Houston after that. Huh. His father was also spook adjacent, came out of Havana, was helping intelligence.
Anyway, so then Oswald goes and debates one of their guys, and then when
Bringuier on the radio, yeah,
right. And then when the assassination occurs, they're the first people out with the entire biography of Oswald.
Within minutes, they're on the phone to Joe and Edie's, right, Larry? Or
and then they released something within 24 hours to the world. I think it was them.
Yeah, it was them through Joe and Edie's permission. I think they literally. Am I crazy? Or they called him up for permission?
Yeah. That's what this file showed, that they actually called him.
Yeah. That was my interpretation of the files as well. Yeah. Because they've got contacts at Life Magazine, at Newsweek, at Time, and they get on the blower, and the story goes viral, to use a phrase from today, overnight. They're the source of this.
Yes, they're the source of they cement Oswald's image as a pro-Castro communist.
Yeah.
Because at that point it was, the guy went to Russia, but it wasn't really clear who and they this everything.
Right.
And so, and Joe and Edie's was running them for the CIA. And then, of course, at that point in time, the Kennedy administration thought that it stopped funding these Castro exile groups. At least that was the order that was handed down. and the CIA had its own plans.
Well, they did cut off money to the DRE in early '63, from what I think even Jeff talks about that, if I remember correctly.
Maybe that's where Marcello steps in.
Oh, possibly. I don't know, but they do cut off money early in '63 based on JFK's orders, from what I can infer.
I think Larry Hancock thinks that maybe there was a slush fund that the CIA was using to continue to fund him, but
could be.
Or Marcello. I mean, Marcello was in New Orleans. Clearly,
somehow he gets back from the jungles of Guatemala, Larry, which is a story for another day.
Yes.
With his alligator shoes by the Attorney General of the United States, who puts it.
Talk about an illegal deportation, right?
Yeah, no, that's why I'm bringing it up. I mean, you talk about Trump. I mean, the Attorney General used ICE against Carlos Marcello.
I mean, that was the most egregious case. The guy's checking in at the INS, and he can't even call his wife.
Yeah.
And he thinks when he's on the plane, they're going to throw him out of the plane.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that part. And somehow he works his way back to New Orleans with the help of David Ferry, who was also an investigator of sorts, working for him, and was there at his own trial. Ferry was employed by him.
I don't understand how Garrison did not. I understand. I mean, it's obvious, but he went in the different direction. He didn't go anywhere near Marcello.
Well, look, he's compromised so much by that time. I mean, he's got to pick a spot, to focus on. I mean, the whole thing was so riddled with holes at that point. I think he was just going to create a lot of noise, hope for the best, and maybe a second trial against someone else, I would presume, other than Clay Shaw. Maybe he thought he would get Marcello later. You know what I mean? I'm imagining that he had other ideas of other trials.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know. There was really this French guy was on JFK Facts last week, Bernard Legrand. He's writing a book on his experiences. He had some really interesting experience with the Kennedy investigation, but he said that he had his book. 5 publishers in France were ready to publish the book. They give him, and then he goes and writes it. And when he goes to turn it in, all 5 say no.
Huh.
And he asked one of the guys why, and they said they got instructions from high up that releasing a book that said the president of the United States was killed by his government would help Putin.
Oh, and that's so twisted. That's so twisted.
Same thinking that's happening now. It's the same reason why the press didn't.
Yeah.
The Biden cognitive stuff. They're so afraid of helping somebody, right?
Or so they say. I mean, it could be partially used as an excuse not to do stuff. But remember Mark Lane, when he goes to England, his publishing house is infiltrated by this guy who's assigned as an editor, who turned out to be CIA, wrote about it in his own memoir. So his own publishing experience was the same, Larry.
Yeah. But
on Rush to Judgment.
Right. But the idea that nowadays that something happened 60 years ago, that you're not going to publish a book because it's somehow going to help Putin in today's geopolitics.
That's just insane. That's insane.
That's unbelievable.
Unbelievably insane. All right. Well, are you willing to come back at another time with an update based on what you've said today, Larry?
Sure. Absolutely. Yes. Because I'm going to probably be seeing Luna in September.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get more records released through the administration.
Okay.
We have motion practice happening with the lawsuit, and hopefully everything will align properly. But we'll see. But there are records that are not in the collection that need to be in the collection. A lot of people think that they'll release the records. It's not just the records in the collection; it's the records that are not in the collection.
Yeah.
And now we're getting to the short hairs. These are the records.
No, because this is the stuff they've been sitting on for so long, and those short hairs they are holding on to those for dear life.
We can say that, right?
You can. There's a new YouTube permission. Now, I just want to point out that you're going to have to go because your dog has urinated on your couch in back of you, and he's dying to go out for a walk, Larry. So
By the way, that's my Mickey Mantle autograph back there.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah. That's the Daily News hitting his 500th home run.
I know that cover. I have a copy of that. I have a copy of that.
For a card show, he was, and I got him to autograph that. And then my other quixotic, you may appreciate my other quixotic initiative is trying to get Thurman Munson into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Debatable, but you could play on people's emotions, Larry. And I know your tricks as a Dodger fan. I know what you're up to with Thurman Munson, but knock yourself out. At this point, my mother could get into the Hall of Fame. You got CC Sabathia this year, so take that as a major victory. How what's his name, Billy Wagner gets in. I have no idea. Right? Tell me how Billy Wagner gets in, Larry.
Well, once Harold Baines got in,
Harold Baines was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
I mean, God bless Ryan Sandberg, who passed away yesterday, 65 with cancer, played the game the right way. 1984, one of the great years.
You see, Koufax was at Cooperstown on Sunday.
I did not see that. I was looking for coverage of this thing. I couldn't find any coverage.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure MLB probably has something on
right. I'm going to have to look back and see that.
The first time he showed up in 30 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. I'm dealing with this rabbi, just so you know, there's a rabbi who is the envoy for Trump for anti-Semitism, New York rabbi. And he spoke to me on the phone because the Dodgers have eliminated Jewish Heritage Night at Dodger Stadium, but they have 14 others. And this was a Heritage Night they've had for years, and they refused to respond. And the rabbi last week vowed to me that he is going to get every owner on the phone and get to the bottom of this. They're all Jewish, all the executives and everything. And we were wondering where Koufax was in this, which is why I'm mentioning it, because he hasn't said anything. And it's bizarre, to say the least. Bizarre.
Wow, because he is the oldest, greatest living Dodger now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they said when he showed up on Sunday, or like when he was there at the Ogasaga, I mean, people are just like,
no, he's a god. I mean, he's I was afraid to get his autograph when I saw him in Vero Beach one time. I was just too intimidated. My father's going, there he is, get his autograph.
Yeah, he was a tough guy. He got in the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame, and he wouldn't show up to the induction ceremony.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He's a really, private person, but I mean, best pitcher I ever saw in my life.
No, without a doubt, absolutely, without a doubt. And I saw a double hitter at Shea Stadium with him in Drysdale. Speaking of double headers, I saw Drysdale in the second game, Koufax in the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember who beat him when the Mets finally beat him for the first time?
That
Tug McGraw was the winning pitcher.
Who?
Tug McGraw.
Get out.
1966, yeah.
In relief or?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, we're going to have to talk about this separately, Larry, because...
Oh, yeah, you'll have to edit this part out.
We'll have to, we'll talk about this.
Really quick, hold on, really quickly. Al Gonzalez is a regular guy. We have something that's called Super Chats. He's put one in. I saw this earlier. Before you go, if you don't mind answering this one question, and then we'll be doing the other ones on our own. And I don't know what Al's thing is lately about the Zapruder film, but Al wants to know, do you believe the Zapruder film was altered? Have you seen Larry Rivera's work regarding this and his recreation of Dealey Plaza using Blender software?
So, not my area of expertise, but
right. I was just going to say that
very well. I also know the two film people, forget their name right now, that did that study that we actually had them at Kappa. I am agnostic on this, honestly.
Yeah, that's what DiEugenio told me the same thing. He's agnostic.
I mean, obviously, it's so complicated. So
yeah, we can't answer that in a $5 question, Gonzalez. You're going to have to come forward and explain yourself in detail.
JFK Lancer.
JFK Lancer, Al. We'll see you down in Texas, and we're going to go do a presentation, Larry, in Dallas with Bob Groden.
Groden obviously thinks that it's intact.
Right. We know his opinion, and other people agree with him, and some people don't.
And I have Bob Saltzman that knows Groden from way back, and he's also, you know, one of those as well. But so I, you know, it's
not your area.
Right. And honestly, it doesn't have an influence on what happened. I mean,
I know.
Okay.
I know.
You know, there's so many questions about the film, but I can't.
Well, will you come back, Schnap? That's the question. Will you return to this channel with an update?
I will return with an update, and we will, we'll try to get some stuff done in September, and we'll come back.
And let's talk separately, privately.
I am to be on. I watch you guys so much, and I'm saying,
I had no idea. I had no idea. Let's talk privately about RFK, because I'm really interested in getting involved in the RFK thing. I really have a strong take and a lot of information regarding that.
Are you friendly with Roger Stone?
I was, until he blocked me on Twitter for some reason, but I have no idea. I've met him once. I was friends with Paul Schrade. We were very close. Okay. And Schrade introduced me to RFK Jr., and that's kind of how I got going on this thing with.
I knew RFK Jr. he's a fellow environmental lawyer.
Oh, of course. Yeah, sure.
I was an elector for him on his campaign for New York.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Wow, right on.
So he's, I'm trying to keep that powder dry, but.
Yeah, I mean, he is, as I say, he spoke before I did at the parole hearing, and I'll talk to you privately about what happened there, because it was very, very interesting. Very interesting. Larry Schnapf, ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause for coming on America's Untold Stories. Finally, we get Larry Schnapf on the show.
In Dallas. I'll be there with Louis.
Oh, good. Oh, fantastic.
Good.
All right, Larry, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been like a thrill. I can't tell you.
Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right. So let's go through these super chats real quickly and roll on. I knew we were going to go long. Dustin wants to know, was Vietnam the motive and military industrial profits the prize?
Was Vietnam the motive and military?
Of the assassination. We're back to JFK. Cuba.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to wrap my mind around the question. Was Vietnam the motive? Well, I as I've said repeatedly on this channel, it was a quid pro quo on the part of LBJ to not give them the invasion of Cuba and the invasion of the Soviet Union, which is what the Joint Chiefs wanted. It was a quid pro quo prize by LBJ to them to pacify them. I don't know if they saw that coming or not, but they wanted Cuba and the Soviet Union. He did not want to go in that direction. That was rather abrupt. But I'm sure he had planned it that way, LBJ, from the beginning.
All right. Mr. Natural wants to know, have you seen the FBI analysis by Sherry Feister? She proved 2 frontal shots came from the South Knoll.
I have not.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that. And I would say claims versus proved. This is Steve from London. Brian Edwards has photo of shadow of overpass person exactly where Mark said a shooter was.
I don't know who Brian Edwards is, but it seems obvious, Steve. If you stand there, it's just a chip shot into the throat from right there. It really is the only place the guy could have been. And as I pointed out with Eric, when we were there, the terminal annex, the parking lot is right there an inch away for the terminal annex building. And the terminal annex building was filled with all kinds of governmental offices. Everything was in there, and still is. I saw soldiers going in there when I was visiting different military groups in uniform going in there.
Question from Pew Pew. Question: bullet fragments from LBJ left. They would identify the make model of the gun. No.
I think you're talking about Connelly's left thigh. Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't know if there was enough fragments to.
Yeah, I don't know what was left. I've never seen the fragments.
Well, and a lot of them he kept in there for his whole life.
Well, they're in his wrist. The thigh was removed. There are fragments in his wrist, the weight of which outweighs the missing metal from 399. So that has been fairly well established for a long time.
K Digital. Let's see. Hold on. Can we use modern facial recognition to help identify people at Dealey Plaza on that day? I mean, maybe. I think they've identified most of them.
Yeah, they know who everybody was already. I mean, yeah.
Joey Kane gifted One America's Untold Stories membership. Thank you, Joey. We'd always appreciate that. Joey Kane has been a member for 10 months. Thank you for being so tireless, sirs and mods. Yes, and you know what? Thank you very much to our mods. We do deeply appreciate that. SG, Mad Scientist helps out. The mods really do help a lot. And there are some folks who will come in and say some really rough things. And it's not just a matter of being offensive to the audience when things are said, but things in the chat can literally get our show taken down. And it's very important that we have the help staying on top of it. And there's just some malicious people out there. So, thank you to the mods. And that's a great point. K Digital, John Sutra fits the French gunman named by Hunt.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We've explored that a little bit, but it does fit. Yeah, Sutra's got an interesting past.
Let's see. Joey King gifted another membership. Well, thank you, Joey. And Excidius is being a smartass, I think. Mark, each time you have a guest, you ask them to explain something for our audience at home. Did you assume my location? It's racist for us at work. I am so offended. I may get leprosy because of this, you fat bastard.
Wow, that's bizarre. Don't quit your day job, man. Comedy's not your main thing. But thank you for the donation. The only reason I interrupt people is to explain it to people at home. Otherwise, it becomes a very insular conversation between two people. I know what he's talking about. It's not for me. I interrupt so he can explain, not just him, any guest I do this with who's a JFK expert, because they know I know what they're talking about, but there's an audience that may not know, and I need them as an interviewer to explain what the hell they're talking about.
Well, by the way, people are formulating drinking games. So, Otto, I know you're formulating a drinking game. Let me ask you to go in that. Rustus Android, I'll answer it. The Z film wasn't altered. Give me a break.
I agree. I don't know where, again, as I've said 5,000 times, where does it get you? In other words, if it was altered, it shows the president's head getting blown off. Is that altered? I mean, there's a blob and there's this and that. But where does the storyline get you? Nobody seems to ask this. Like I said with the Connelly thing, where does it get you? I mean, with all of these different storylines, what does that mean that in 1992 or 1989, someone took the Zapruder film and started monkeying around with it and put it up on eventually onto the World Wide Web, and people see it in 2000 and they go, look, it's been altered, assuming that's the original version of the film. You got to ask yourself, what am I looking at here? Is this the altered version of the original film or an altered version of a copy that somebody monkeyed around with? And you can't prove it either way, can you? Plus, who benefits from this? A group called the CIA. The Achilles heel to the CIA is the Zapruder film. If they can get into the zeitgeist and knock down the legitimacy of the Zapruder film, they are victorious. So you are now helping the CIA to knock down the one piece of evidence that up until recently has been incontrovertible. If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out.
All right, Rustus Android again. If we dig up Hunley's grave, we could get those fragments.
In fact, we've asked for an exhumation of Connelly, and Nellie has refused every single time. Yeah. So just to answer that, not laughingly, but truthfully, his wife refused on numerous occasions.
Yeah, people are very, very frustrated. And she's probably passed on now, but it's...
there's children too,
Yeah, it's pretty much...
I'm excited about Larry's idea about getting the daughters involved of Marina.
Oh, for sure. Larry's great. Look forward to hearing what else he has coming on. But for now, we're going to head over to locals, running a bit long, but we've got a few more tips over there to check out, and hopefully we'll see you. There's a link in the description.